Guardian, we've picked up a high-gain transmission. Origin point is somewhere along the coast, near the Cosmodrome.
Alrighty, folks. Alrighty. Welcome to Cosmodrome Radio, episode 60. We are at episode 60. Can you believe it, kids? We done
and we're
made
9
it to
from
the
nice.
Oh my god. Nice. That's gonna end up being like a meme shirt. We might have to make a meme shirt out of that. Lord. All right, but yes, this is the podcast all about Destiny 2 and all the great things about it. We love doing the show and talking to y'all about the great game. Don't forget that you can listen to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, no longer Google Podcasts, because Google apparently hates its own self. Spotify.
There goes flawless.
I know, right? Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Spotify. Y'all still the big contenders. Like, Spotify is the biggest place. Make sure that y'all rate us on Spotify. But you have to listen to an episode to rate us. So make sure that you listen to an episode before you do it. You can't just come over from the live show and just like drop a 5-star. Like, you gotta like listen to an episode. So make sure you do that. And it's Apple Podcasts. You can rate us on Apple Podcasts, but you have to like go to the main show page and then scroll down. And then, like everybody I told, hey, go rate us. They're like, there's no rate button. I'm like, go down. Like, don't just stare at the main thing. Go down. So make sure you do that. And don't forget to check out the merch store and all that fun stuff. We're going to go ahead and dive into this. My name is Jay Paracausal. I achieved my 48th flawless today of all time. I'm really proud of myself. I made a fun video bashing hand cannons earlier. That was fun. People, please learn how to make a build if you're going to step into trials, because if I see one more person without a masterwork piece of armor, I'm going to cry. Like, if I see a person with PvE mods on in Trials of Osiris, I'm going to cry. Like, Mask of the Quiet One is not a good exotic Titans. Please do better. Like, that's all I'm saying. To my right, we have the spicy man, no longer Jesus, but he's still here with us. Apparently is trying his best to find his god roll hammerhead, but to no avail. Cajun, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, I got some drops. I just can't get the one fucking combination that I want, which is freaking rewind.
He said it right.
And onslaught. Sorry. But I got like so many different combinations for like hammerhead and even a shiny that's got some different nice combos. And it's like, okay, it's going to be a little bit of testing. But outside of that, doing good. Been having fun doing legend runs in the Whisper, which by the way, I've got that damn near down to a freaking art form.
I need to do my third run of legend. We might do that after the show because I need to do that.
Yeah. Still chasing for the freaking legend 50 because god damn,
I finally got it last night. I finally got it.
Fuck you.
And the worst part was, it was with two dudes from the Destiny 2 LFG with no mics, and I wanted to strangle them. And it was frustrating me because like the first 20 waves, they wouldn't buy shit. I was ready to strangle them. And then
that's the method.
And then out of nowhere, they started dropping Shaxes everywhere. I was like, what? And it was crazy.
Yeah, so that's the freaking, that is the best play. Do not buy for the first 20 rounds because that's going to be the easiest rounds to navigate everything. After that, you gotta have the Shaxes. You gotta have the freaking turrets on the
trip wires from 40 to 50. The trip wires, because they saved up and had like 7,000 a piece. They had all gold trip wires around the back end of Midtown, and like everything was dying. It was so funny. It was the funniest shit. I was cracking up. So that was dope. Below me on mobile and on the landscape, we have the hunter in the shadows, the man who will lose the stats of recovery because he refuses to have recovery, and it worries us all. Mr. Diva, how you doing, buddy?
I don't need recovery when I got the blood of my enemies. It replenishes me. What did my baby girl say? My court is war, and that is where you will find me.
Like you don't understand there. Like straight up, my man will roll up into a GM with 100 resilience but 0 recovery, and we'll just be like, Are you okay? Like
what class though?
Hunter. He's a hunter.
Hunters don't need recovery. Whatever, man.
Exactly. See, but no, folks don't know that.
No, they're too busy like dancing around the skybox and teleporting and killing. Fuck hunters, man.
Damn. Okay. Hey, look.
Well,
you can't hate the player. You gotta hate the game. I'm sorry. I'm just taking advantage of the things at my disposal.
Oh,
I'm just saying, man. If one more hunter invises and hides in a corner on Cauldron, I'm gonna scream because that was like literally half of the past 2 days was like invis hunters hiding in Cauldron, and it was just like, no, see now I have you because I'm gonna start throwing glacial grenades at your ass and then just shattering them because you want to be a bitch. Like that's all we're gonna start doing.
Adapt and overcome.
Warlock life for me. You just throw a stasis turret and let it track.
See, and that's so funny because I made a whole video talking about y'all think well locks are so busted because of well and Dominion and whatnot. Nah, motherfucker. Ever since that shit came out, stasis turret warlock has been the most dangerous thing in the game, and yeah, Bungie's just like whatever. And it's like, what do you mean? Whatever.
None of it. I don't hear none of it. Bungie, don't you fucking touch it, Bungie.
And then they'll like keep steadily buffing it. They'll keep buffing it.
I can't remember who pointed it out. It was earlier this week that Hunters right now in PvP has the best class distribution across all subclasses versus Titan and Warlock.
I've said that so many times. It's so frustrating.
Warlock are on their bubble and well. That's it.
We talked about it on the last episode.
I'm gonna tell you why, though. I'm gonna tell you why.
Because their kits are the best.
No, it's not because their kits are the best. It's because their kits are the least impactful.
That's
when you look at Hunters, our kits are complementary to the player's skill and the player's approach. If you like going invis and you like to be more of a pocket defensive shooter, you want something like Void that's going to allow you to, hit and run tactics. But when you look at Titan and you look at Warlock, their subclasses are their builds. It's not based on your skill as a shooter, it's based on what you bring into combat. And that is the reason why people have the least amount of want to experiment and learn when it comes down to Warlock and Titan. They will go to whatever somebody told them was meta, and that's what they're gonna run. Because here's
the thing: people aren't Warlock and Titan mains. They're only doing it because somebody on YouTube told them it was meta. But in reality, Arc Titan was only good because Bungie purposely said from the Arc 3.0 trailer, we want Arc Titan to be the PvP choice. And they made it the PvP choice. And then look what happened. Everybody fucking started going too hard with it.
No, I don't hear none of that from you.
Subclass ever made, so that makes sense. They probably just wanted to put it back where it was supposed to be.
Nah, fuck all that.
I'm not listening to this propaganda, by the way.
I don't want to hear none of that. I want to hear class envy. That's all I want to hear.
Biased, Guardian Games Hunter propaganda I've ever heard in my entire life.
Here's the thing too. I'll sit here and wave my Titan flag all day, like, hey, you're only mad because you don't know how to counter bubble. And then there's Diva who's like, Hunters are all busted, but I'm not gonna say anything. I'm just gonna.
We're not busted. I'm sorry, y'all just don't want to learn how to play against it.
Hunters, that's what I'm saying about Titans.
We get a little bit of something.
Titans are busted,
people.
How? Titans are busted because so Titans, all of your value is up front, right? Every ability you have does crazy burst damage, but you also have.
But they're all counterable.
And mobility. It's crazy.
It's all counterable. Though.
Obnoxious. It is obnoxious because you can make cover out of nothing, sit behind the cover, decide what to do. You can peek with a sniper, play the actual barricade game, so you actually can't even be damaged through it. You can use your barricade to chunk damage. So if somebody were to thunder crash you and you time it right. I'll put that a barricade that survive 1 HP and kill you. There's so many things that Titan does that is just innate to just being upfront and obnoxious. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but they are obnoxious.
But at the same time, everything Titan does can be countered. People will complain about Overshield, even though literally every special weapon in the game can one-shot an Overshield Titan. I've experienced it multiple times. And barricades have been consistently nerfed over and over again because of complaints, despite barricades being able to be walked around, jumped over. You know how many hunters it will walk through a barricade and still kill you before you can do anything? And you're just like...
I'm going to say this, and just because this is going to be the hottest take of the day.
That's not true because we have a lot of takes today. We're gonna have a lot of takes today.
I got some takes.
Although hunters are considered the problem child of the Crucible, I stand on this hill, I die on it.
All right.
Warlocks are the most broken class in the game.
You're right.
And they are the ones that need to be policed.
Yes,
but
100%.
Titans are they are the golden boys of the Crucible. They can't do no wrong because the skill floor is decently placed, but the skill ceiling is non-existent. If you know how to use a Titan and you know how to use their kit and you actually know how to like use the tech surrounding them, like they are the best Crucible class. But people don't want to learn how to do it. And because people don't want to learn how to do it,
accept that.
They get away with a lot of shit.
Yeah, I'm over
here thinking about it, and I'm like,
this is one of the rare few times I have to agree with Diva, and this is coming from someone who is a hunter main, but in PvP I am now a Titan main because
that's crazy.
The skill set between Hunter and Titan is so different, but Titan is far easier to pick up and far easier to master.
Now let me counter that though. Let me counter that. Hunters are the most picked up and they are the easiest. While Titans is like I would say Titan is the second easiest to pick up over Warlock, but Hunter is the easiest because Hunter feels the most like every other shooter. Hunter is the easiest one to pick up from everything, and it is like the easiest to master because as long as you can hit your shots, any motherfucker can be a hunter. Hell, when the fucking Roach meta was out for fucking Strand last month, I was running around trials as a hunter balling out. Like anybody can fucking do it, but Titans, as you just said, like while it's easy to enter the door, you ain't gonna get to the back of the salty spittoon without getting your ass kicked a few times. Like it's like that's where I'll leave that caveat of like, hey, like punching with a Titan can be fun, but can you master Titan? Can you exist under pressure as a Titan?
I'm about to tell you now though.
See, I think
Warlocks
decision making.
Yes,
they are, but Warlocks I 100% believe 100%. I stand on it. The motherfuckers are cheating, bro. The motherfuckers are cheating.
All right.
Bungie has on their kits with so much gas, they are walking kerosene. I swear to God. They can't lose.
Well, Diva, let me actually introduce our guest here because this man has been overdue to be on an episode for a minute. Like my confidant, my man, we both used to do comic journalism together. Darren Scott-Free, man, you are the GOAT. Let these people know what you do and what you've been about.
So, hey guys, I'm also gonna like blow minds right now. It's Duran. Hello, everybody. I figured I'd correct you.
I'm so sorry.
I waited. I could have told you half an hour.
Half the time I call you Scott anyway, but that's my own damn fault.
Yeah, it's fine. No, I literally do this on purpose. I think it's funny.
That's funny.
I'm a moderator in a Facebook group for Destiny. There's like 90,000 plus people in it. I try to keep them updated. I've written some articles on Destiny. I do a bunch of build guides, and I've done a bunch of like vault cleanings, not like dados, where I kind of just teach people how to look for what they want.
The devil of the league, brother.
Wait. No, I don't delete things for people. I don't tell people what to delete. I tell them what to look for in their vaults and how to decide.
That's fair.
Because y'all never coming for me. I'll tell you that right now.
I was like, you picked the right one for this week.
But shout out to Dado though for straight up like rolling with the punches and making a fake apology video. That was the best shit.
That shit was hilarious, dude. I was fucking tripping.
Absolutely the best thing
always. Well, let's go ahead and dive in because we got a lot to talk about. Because Bungie, I didn't think Bungie was gonna have shit for us this week, and then Bungie was like, "Hey, here's some wallpapers. Here's some wallpapers for y'all, and then here's power." And I'm like, "Wait, what?"
Oh.
So as we talked about, let's start with the one that we already kind of touched on a little bit. Fireteam Power. We talked about a little bit last week, but let's dive more into it. So Bungie has pretty much said, but also expanded on the whole, hey. For returning players, new players, etc., if you enter a fire team for most activities, your power level will match -5 of the highest person in your lobby. Like, say, if I'm 2,000, but Cajun's 1,600, which obviously won't be able to happen, but like for sake of reference, Cajun will get bumped up to 1995. And that's what that will be like. And while while I'm sticking to my opinion from last week, I think the way they laid it out is okay, especially the way they're like, hey, for like most things like activity power, they're like, hey, if it's like a story mission or like a regular strike or a patrol, activity power is going to be disabled. But like for stuff like Nightfalls or GMs or contest mode, like that stuff going to be in the mix. But fire team power will not be for contest mode, which I appreciate them saying. But here's my one thing, and I was afraid this was going to happen, and I said it last week. Why is there fire team power for GMs? Why? Because this incentivizes too many individuals to hop on stream and be like, GM carries everybody, let's go, and just leads to nonstop carrying people through content. If it would have been,
that's been what we've been doing anyway. So I mean,
it's a W.
Why care?
I think it's an issue, especially with new people coming into the game or returning players coming back. It devalues the idea of playing content for yourself and grinding power level. And
we're already gonna do it though. Like legit, what's the difference between?
I would rather Bungie not give it the green light. I wish Bungie would not be John Legend and give it the green light. I'm sorry.
gonna say this, it is gonna hurt. It's probably gonna hurt your feelings, but it gets asses in seats and it sells tickets. That's all
that's what I've had to eat like half this week, like the past 2 days while I've been like digesting all this. I've been kind of sitting here like, yeah, it gets asses in seats, so Bungie's gonna do it, and that's the thing I had to eat because like I still want to talk about it most definitely, but it's also just like, man, y'all just kind of caved, didn't you? Like you couldn't leave GM out, like GM and contest mode should have just stayed out of this. Thank God contest mode stayed out of this, but like
I don't think they caved though, because you got to think about it, right? Because yes, it's asses in seats, yeah, whatever, sure. But we just talked about how PvP people aren't looking for like how to learn certain classes outside of Hunter. They're all looking for being told what's good and just copying that, right? So that's already kind of what people are doing. People like again in the Facebook group, people don't ask, "Hey, I'm new to the game. I'm trying to play a lot of PvE. I want to get into end game. What sorts of traits should I look for in my weapons?" They just go, "Is this good? Is this bad?" Very binary, very simple answer. Very no desire to think. I think it sucks a little bit because it's an RPG and it's designed for you to think a little bit. But at the end of the day, Bungie's just meeting people where they're at. So it may be a little frustrating that people don't want to try at all, really, for their hobby. But that's kind of just where people are at.
I think you dropped his crown, King.
Yeah, I mean, you just said it. Like, it sucks that people don't want to try. That's been the big. Like, and I have a video coming out later today, like probably tomorrow, where I'm like I don't even know if I'll release. I'll just talk about it here. Like, the thing that's been the most frustrating about trials the past like 4 or 5 weeks is that people don't want to make builds. They're just running into trials full speed because they hear loot. They hear random content creators say, "Hey, yo, go get you a cataphract," even though debatably Edge Trans is going to be more busted when Final Shape comes out. And even now it's more busted if we're being real about it. And it's like, why why are you going, "Hey, I see shiny loot with a random Egyptian eye on it, I'm going to go get it." Like, you should be like, "Hey, am I gonna get my ass kicked or am I gonna like stand a chance here?" And I even said on TikTok before, like and what's funny is a comic, like an indie comic creator who followed me for the longest time, commented and I responded to it because he thought I was being toxic. I was like, yo, I am not saying you need to come into trials with the best build, the best everything, and ball out with a 2.5 KD. I'm saying if you're gonna come in here and die, at least come dressed for the funeral. And not enough motherfuckers know how to dress for the funeral. Is the biggest thing that I see when it comes to trials and Crucible in general. So I worry in regards to the future of the game if we're just like. It almost feels like we're giving into mobile game culture, where a lot of mobile games have autoplay function. And if we're just like, hey, if someone else is going to play the game for me, why am I here? You know what I mean? Like, it feels weird to me when it comes to like, why, like, especially for the hardest content, which is supposed to be the GM, the Grandmaster, like next to contest mode, it's the hardest thing. Why are we, it just feels weird to me.
I think there's a way around that though. So I think the community what they can do. And this isn't going to be everyone because everyone has different ideologies and sentimentalities when it comes to this kind of thing. But I think
Okay.
what's important is that each creator that does a carry or each person that does a carry, they have a choice whether or not they're doing a full carry or if they're just providing help. And I know it sounds like semantics, but helping someone learn the ins and outs of a GM, learn how to position and take advantage of the opportunities where they have chances to make plays in a GM, the pacing of a GM, team coordination. Because there are some teams that just kind of run it down mid in GMs and they just like speed run their GMs, and there are teams that like take their time, right? So there's going to be a middle ground, and I think it's up to the person that is running the fire team to kind of communicate beforehand, during, and after whether or not this is a carry and you can kind of just AFK and don't die, or if this is a like a more collaborative educational effort where you're learning how to become a more like self-sufficient guardian through the means of like playing a fire team.
It's like,
And
how
I
do
think
we
that's really
change
on
the
us as a
community
community to
standard?
kind of like shepherd people through. I don't think Bungie can do that because Bungie can come down from the heavens. John Bungie himself can come down from the heavens and just go, "Hey, Guardians, y'all ain't gonna carry anyone. And if we see that your accounts like haven't shot a bullet in a couple seconds, then like we're gonna like make you lose." Like they could do all sorts of things.
That would be cool. I would love that. I would
think those need
love
to be
that.
challenge modes. I think those need to be modes. I would love to have like a modifier or
Yes.
for all the Halo
Like
old
contest
school
mode. If
or
you ain't
or
playing, bro,
Pro.
get the hell up out my
Yeah,
game.
just like we're getting hardware with PvP. I think there are levers that Bungie can push and pull to make sure people get those sorts of experiences, but I don't think they can default. Mind you, I'm the person that asked for the game to be harder as a baseline and got cursed out by 90,000 people.
Same.
Ooh.
Well, we're gonna talk about that hardware thing in a bit because I'm gonna be the controversial motherfucker
And I
in
only
the
asked
room
for
on
a
that.
little bit harder. And the reason I want the game to be slightly harder is one, it forces you to like think a little bit when you play. But the other reason is if everyone just gets better at the game, then Bungie can be
Make it
more
harder
creative because
again?
they don't have to worry about people being dog shit at the game and they can't play the stuff that they put out.
See, I like the Season of Defiance difficulty level where like everybody bitched and moaned about wanting harder content, and then Bungie was like, "Here you go." And then like they were like, "Wait a minute, wait, we're dying in playlist activities." I'm like, "Yeah, bitch, so get ready. It's on now."
I feel so bad because I'm gonna have to push back on this, but I reserve my opinion till later.
Okay.
Cajun, what you got to say about it, Cajun? Talk to me.
You got any good news for us, Cajun?
So, I mean, as far as the power system, it goes on with the trend with most MMOs that have been out for a while. You know, World of Warcraft did it, Final Fantasy 14 did it. So it doesn't shock me that Bungie, you know, this has also been leaked and talked about for a while that they were going to move to a system like this. I like that it's not like we're completely redoing the board and coming up with this whole new system, but like, hey, we're going to take the existing and tweak it a little bit more. And going back to what Darian was talking about, you know, we need to change the culture and the mindset. That's going to feed more into what we are going to talk about later with content creation. Because quite honestly, Darren's right. We're not going to be Bungie can't fix that problem. That's got to be a community. That's got to be a community solution. But here's the reality: is that there are some that are going to go for the easy ride, whether that's the player or the content creator.
Yeah,
they're going to go for the easy ride because it's going to get the quickest results.
You was talking about it before, path of least resistance.
Yeah. So at that point, and I'm going to say this very respectfully, and I know I'm probably going to get looked down on.
Oh no.
I am always trying to help out new players and returning players and try to provide the best information and the best opinions possible.
Right.
There's also that caveat. I'm also willing to help people. But if you're going to come at me, and I've had multiple instances of people coming at me saying, what you're saying is wrong, be like, hey, this is based upon my experience playing the game. Well, I've done GMs. Okay, really? Let me pull up your. You got carried.
And it's kind of funny too, because you bring up a recent thing that happened to me where I was 2-man in Whisper with a clanmate, and clanmate was being a dork and running Severance Enclosure on Solar and a Legend.
Oh, that's great.
And
That's great.
And like he ran straight into the Taken and exploded and just died. And I was like, maybe you shouldn't run that build. No, it's great. Trust me. Kept dying. And I'm like, maybe you should put on something similar to me, like Precious Scars or Pyrogale. And he finally started to change his build up. And thank God we got through it. But it was just like, but as I'm talking to him about like improving and whatnot, because I was clouded on, I'm like, see, you keep dying, maybe we should change your build. And then some dude came through my comment section and was like, oh, no, man, Severance Enclosure is one of the best things this season. Have you seen such and such creator's video? And I'm like, first of all, just because a motherfucker made it doesn't mean it's the best thing in the game. And I've said that before. Like any creator can make a video and say it's busted. But I've said it before that if you are somebody that thinks charged up needs to go on your chest piece and you're dying every couple seconds, maybe you need to put a concussive dampener mod on and actually like care about your build a little bit, not just think, oh, I have a bunch of chargeable light stacks, I'm gonna be a freaking god. That's not how this works anymore, damn it. Like, you can't do that.
You know, as somebody that runs Felwinter's Helm often, that's why I got so excited for the Severance Enclosure, but there's a certain way you're supposed to pilot those builds. You don't just run it down main. You soften things up, and you inch closer, and then you find that first thing that you finish, and you start the dominoes from there. You don't just balls to the wall, man. That's not cool.
See, but that's the problem. We found the core of the issue. There are so many players, and the information and how we disseminate information is one part of the problem, and the other part is the fact that players don't actually understand that certain builds are good because of their playstyle. And if your playstyle doesn't fit that, it doesn't matter if it's an S-tier build. Exactly. If you can't keep up with what you need to do, the build can be S-tier, but it's going to be absolute shit because it's in your hands.
It's net decking culture. It comes over from trading cards. Like, it's net decking culture.
But that is the culmination of what has become God roll culture. I can give you an S-tier God roll fucking hammerhead, but if it doesn't fit your playstyle, it doesn't matter if it's the best roll.
I don't know, Diva. That Elsie's rifle with Zen Moment Headseeker could be in the worst player's hands, but that thing's still gonna be a laser. Like, I got me 100 kills in trials the past 2 days off that bad bitch.
Go ahead, Cajun, talk to me, buddy.
Because I did Legend Onslaught last night and got my God roll, and I was like, ooh, this is a bad mamma jamma. And I was beating out some igneous hammers and some summoners with that thing, man. You can 2-tap a bitch with that thing, so I don't know.
Oh, just wait until Blast Furnace comes out.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to be cooking up my furnace.
And I've said this.
Let him speak. Talk to me, Cajun.
And I'm going to repeat something that I've been saying for quite some time on my streams. And I've had few people come after me and say, you're spreading bad opinions. No, I will stand by this. The vast majority of weapons out there do not have definitive God rolls.
I agree.
They have enough. They have enough perks. They have enough perks to where you can customize it to your play style and to your build.
That's very
few weapons.
That's an interesting statement.
Very few weapons have the definitive God roll.
Talk to him, Piccolo.
Oh no, brother. I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, we talked about it last week. Look at what we talked about last week with Mountaintop. Where like, if you get slick draw on a Mountaintop, it ain't gonna pack the same punch as a regular Mountaintop. But if you give Vorpal or Frenzy on a Mountaintop, that's gonna put in
not the only metric that defines a weapon and its utility.
Tell him.
With damage only perspective.
Okay. Jay, we've had this discussion before.
Right.
Okay.
We have.
Apex Predator. For the longest time, everybody and their mother was streaming Recon and freaking Bait and Switch.
Which debatably still by a small percentile is the better role. Bipod is great. Like bipod wasn't, but now it is measurable to it. But before they had to bump bipod and lower bait and switch to close that margin.
But even then, we found multiple times to where even other creators are now catching on that freaking bait and switch, high DPS, boss damage, recon bipod, good for GM content and ad clear content. You know, there's a case use for the vast majority of perk combinations. That is what we should be talking about more when we're talking about perk combos. It's like, hey, this is why I'm using this, because it either A, fits my playstyle, B, fits my build, or C, works for this particular content that I'm doing.
Right, and none of the people know how to do that, because like perfect example is like the Aikilo sniper rifle. Like 4 times the charm, Focus Fury is one of the best things to use for like speed running or just content overall. But look at something like 4 times an incandescent or overflow incandescent. That thing could be a monster in like current sandbox with the radiant buffs, where you could roll into hypernet current with a sniper rifle and just start doming things and be able to stun overload unstops with it. Like you can do some dirty things with that thing. But at the same time, if I'm looking at Aikilo's sniper rifle right now, you got something like Fragile Focus or Surplus. What are you gonna do with that on like that, or Elemental Capacitor on that thing? There's certain like perks that just don't fit the mold on a gun. So while I debatably I agree with you, and we need to change the mentality of like, hey, certain combos fit certain situations. Like with me, I have a BXR Battler, one for PvE and one for PvP, which I wish hopefully in Final Shape we're able to put more of the perks on Gone crafted weapons. That way my vault can shrink a little bit. But like in general, I still am of the opinion that there's certain guns that are worth dismantling and certain guns keeping it, and that's just gonna have to be the thing.
And
okay, so I agree with you on that. Sorry, I agree with you on that. That some weapons are just like dismantle fodder, or some rolls on weapons are dismantle fodder. But the use case thing is like, it's something you can't object to, and here's why.
Right.
If you're running a melee build, and you have a weapon with demolitionist, automatically the wrong roll. I don't care what anybody tells you.
Correct.
If your weapon is not, remember, who is it? Drewski that likes to use card games as like as an analogy that he goes for. So every weapon that's in your loadout is a tool that you're using for a specific purpose, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's you're running double special, so you're using your forbearance or whatever waveframe you feel like running with to get your ad clear, using the trace rifle for your shoot and loot and for your general damage against other stuff, sure, whatever it is. If you're like me and you like using exotic primers with specials, you get a little bit of everything. You don't have to think about ammo at all. You're not really hungry for lead for gold and not hungry for shoot and loot because you have ammo and a weapon.
Outbreak perfected, baby.
Right. All these little things that you do, as Cajun was saying, is that they're all part of either your playstyle, a certain role that the weapon is serving, or something else. In Pokemon, you can run, we'll use Charizard. You can run one Charizard 7 different ways. And all of them are viable. I got a Bulbasaur next to me. I'll grab it for you in a second.
Okay, cool.
You can run Charizard 7 different ways, and they're all viable for different strategies, different teams, different compositions. That's how these weapons work. Are there stat sticks in the game? Sure. All the Brave Arsenal weapons, all the Raid weapons, all the Trials weapons, they're all stat sticks. Nobody's arguing that. But if you're trying to tell someone that with all this assortment of weapons that we have, that each one of them has one role that is the God role, no matter what the circumstance is, I think that's bullshit. And I think that's lazy. I think that's being afraid to look at a weapon on its own merit and decide that, hey, if you're looking for this type of playstyle, look for this. If you're looking for this type of effect, look for this. If you want this gameplay loop, look for this. That takes more time. So it circles back to our path of least resistance, and it circles back to just doing what the easiest thing is. It is much easier to find one role that does the most things and call it the God role than it is to accept that a lot of it is just subjective.
That's why I will always say, and like this is not to cross, I love the way Cool Guy does his weapon reviews over Aztecrosses, because Cool Guy will sit there and give a rating for PvE, he'll give a rating for PvP, he'll break down every perk combination on a gun or like a perk worth using or whatever. He will break down every facet of this gun and then be like, okay, cool, what do you think? And that's a great way to go about it. Grant Cross does somewhat about that, but because he knows people want a God role. And oh, yes, beautiful
now,
thing.
Where is the Squirtle? That's the real question.
Nah,
the
bro,
real
Bulbasaur's going for life.
$400. I wasn't getting him.
Bro, that thing right there, it came out of GameStop. It was $60, and then when Pro Week hit, it was $40. I was the happiest kid on the planet. Like I was so happy. But like, no, that's the thing about it is like, if we like half this episode is gonna be if we like it's that I forget what it's from. Like I know it was from the freaking Biggie Smalls movie where like he says if we want to change the world, we gotta change ourselves. And like that's the thing, we have to be the examples and start doing better to shine a light on what's going on. Now
I think we got to start absolutely getting on the players who have this hive mind mentality behind how the game needs to be played.
Agreed.
I love this community, but a lot of people have the mindset that there's only one way to do things. There's only one way to skin a cat.
Yeah.
That can't be the only way we do things. And it's led to a lot of players being like, the only way to do a GM is to run it with 2 well locks and insert Titan or Hunter as needed. You know, you got to run it with...
Cenotaph is pretty nasty, bro. That Cenotaph does work.
We are not going to talk about the shoe because as much as I love the shoe, they didn't give it to Hunters, and I'm saying
I'm still of the opinion that if you have to create an exotic to increase a freaking ammo drop rate, there you have it inherent, and it's one, a waste of an exotic. 2, it is a band-aid on an existing problem that you do need to adjust the freaking ammo economy.
Like I agree with you for the most part, but at the same time, I think especially in high level content, putting a little bit of a pressure gauge on people, like, hey, your ammo is not going to be as plentiful as you want, but then you having a way to circumvent that if you choose to build into that is cool. Like, and granted, I'm somebody that's fallen into Camp Ferrum where I look at Quad King's build where he runs Strand Aeons, but uses the other sect where it's like if you hit precision hits, you're able to debuff targets and mark targets for your teammates. I love that, especially this season where you have the 1 strand modifier that when you hit precision hits, you debuff targets. Then you have the one thing that says, hey, if you're radiant and you hit a precision hit, and that circles back, it does more damage to strand debuff targets. So it creates this loop where you're just constantly doing big damage and your teammates are doing big damage to the yellow bars. And it's such a great idea, but not enough people know about it because everyone hears, oh, Aeons, you need more ammo. And that sucks. But it's like builds like that are great outliers.
As much as I like that, I want to be honest with you. I got to go back to a buddy of mine who said, if I got to use an exotic for other people, I'm not happy. And that is what it feels like to be the quote unquote dead bitch or the AI generator.
I'm going to
say
like
playing support though, and I think that's
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this. If you would have said that before Onslaught, I would have been like, I agree with you, but now with like Onslaught, the game mode has definitely showed that you need to be very selectful in your super usage, and at the same time, how you build your freaking how you make your build is going to help out your teammates. Like let's say orb generation. Freaking holy crap, there are so many good builds out there that are just like shitting out orbs like nobody's business. And then when you're popping your super and you're crapping out those orbs, your teammates are getting their supers back faster.
Yeah.
Look at a build like Doomfang Pauldrons just came back from the grave and started putting in work at Onslaught.
But there's a difference between something that passively helps your teammates and something that only helps your teammates and not you. Like you don't receive any benefit from using it except for the fact that you're helping your teammates. That can feel oppressive, especially when you're forced to use it and not actually be something that you're choosing to use.
I mean, that's kind of why I've enjoyed Fallout's videos recently, because he's been telling people, hey, if you're being the div bitch, you don't have to run a rocket. You can run commemoration and just pull up and start being the ag player person.
I agree. There are a lot of players. Diva likes to run more of a support build. I don't mind it, but I hate being told, hey, you got to run Aeon so we can get heavy. All right. That's not really the way I want to support my team, but we need the heavy. Exactly. And that was another thing with Warlocks.
You don't put them on now. Don't get out of here.
See, but you say that, but then previous guest in the Sodan job will tell you one of our like greatest clips was him being like, "Yo, I hate the fact that Titans have Banner of War now, because it feels like because of player mentality and because of other classes not having any options or like any variety, that well locks are being punished and people who enjoy playing support are being punished for it." And that's kind of a raw end of a deal where we're about to enter an era where well gets nerfed, and the people who enjoy being support, love dropping that well and pulling out the div, are going to start getting punished because they lose their way of play.
They can still run
it. But at the same time, we are getting an frame.
Yeah.
We are getting a frame type for auto rifles that's going to allow you to heal other teammates.
That's going to be cool. I'm excited for that.
I think between the auto rifle, between Lumina, and between the new Warlock Super, they just don't want you being passive.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like Bungie is pushing more to an active support versus passive support,
which is cool. Yeah.
And another thing that I look at when I look at, like, especially with Warlocks, I have heard it from many Warlocks that because Warlocks have the most diverse kits in the entire game, they are definitively the best class to run. If you're PvE only, definitively, there's no reason you should not have a Warlock on your team. They're the best class to have.
Oh yeah,
they don't lose. They have the best kits.
If you look at the D2 LMG right now for Onslaught, so many individuals are looking for well locks or like stasis locks. They're looking
for well locks or stasis lock, but mostly well lock, because the well is the cornerstone of how we do hard.
I'm gonna say this about Warlocks real quick. Yeah, wells are good. Stasis is great. Y'all need to stop looking away at freaking Strand Warlocks.
I was gonna say
I'm sorry. Okay, hold up.
This man and his conspiracy. You're like the dude who's yelling at the moon. You're like that dude's the conspiracy theory.
Nah, spit.
Dude, no. Hold up. So first and foremost, I talked about this last week, and I'll talk about it again. Nezarec Sin, Graviton Lance on a strand suspension build for freaking Warlock. I have given this to 8 people.
Mm-hmm.
2 of them brand new players that had Nezarec Sin and went and unlocked Graviton Lance. With even non-masterwork gear, they were able to make it work. And they were fucking shitting out orbs, literally holding down lanes like nobody's business. They were succeeding versus trying to master freaking solar builds in Phoenix Protocol.
100%. That's
the
my
struggle
point,
is I want to put the meme of the old man in the chair, the nurse. It's like I have a great idea, and it's like, sure you do, Grandpa. I want to do that occasion, but
I've run it on stream, and I've had people say, "How the hell are you doing that?"
It's a good build.
It's a good build. I'm not clouded with you.
Fundamentally, just from hearing it, I can tell you that's a decent build. A damn decent one, if not amazing.
All right. Well, I don't want to cut off, but we got a lot more to talk about. So
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna let it go. Right. The thing about Warlocks is, just in general, it's busted, but it's really become to a point where it's gotten to a point where we don't give space for it to not be there. It is a requirement for there to be a Warlock on well. And that is fundamentally ruining the experience of Warlock players, for one, because they don't get to experiment. I've already heard people already saying, hey, I know Prismatic looks hot, But Warlock person, guess what you're gonna be doing?
We said it last week. We said it last week that y'all ain't going to prismatic. It's like the freaking. We said it last week. It's like Uncle Ruckus is dead. You thought you was gonna be shit? Nah, homie, you going right back in the shit.
over there. But that right there is fundamentally the issue. Is that we don't give room for it.
You join an LFG or a group raid with friends, and you look. The first fucking thing you look for is, are there other warlocks? Because if there's other warlocks, the first thing you do is you start cutting promos about how you're going to run this other build and how you don't need to be on the well.
You start cutting promos.
That right there.
It starts turning into 100%, brother. That's how fast it is.
Like, look, I can't do nothing but accept it because he's not lying. Like, look,
that's how crazy it gets. The first time you see another war, like, oh shit, they're on well, I'm not gonna say anything. I'm just gonna put on my void build, and I'm not gonna say a damn word. I'll wait until we wipe.
I remember when Vaughn came out, and there would be a couple extra warlocks. They would whip out geo bags. I'm like, what do you think you're doing? We need backup wells.
Like,
what if that well gets teleported? What are we gonna do? You better put that well on. Like, we have priorities here, damn it. All right. So Bungie,
I don't die. You see how that works? I don't die.
So Bungie is taking a kneecap to everybody who thinks that going past rank 100 on your battle pass means a damn thing, because they said, hey, I know you think getting power level is dope and having having like super high extra artifact power is dope. Like the memes of people being like already at 2,000 and stuff like that on their artifact, and like I think Grenadier Jake even hit like rank 1,000 last week or something like that. But like Bungie's going, hey, that's not how you're gonna get higher artifact come final shape. It's gonna be solely based on if you do all your seasonal challenges. And I was like, man, so y'all really want motherfuckers doing patrols, don't you? Like,
damn.
I am of the opinion that if you have to force people to do something, you fundamentally failed already, because you've created a situation where you're having to literally hold the child's hand and walk it to the place you want it to be to say, all right, now sit down here, do this. Like, if I'm not having fun with this, why should I do it?
Well, like what's funny about it is like Bungie kind of went the opposite direction previously, where they were like, "Hey, we're not gonna make you play Gambit anymore if you don't want to. If you like, all you gotta do is play activities." And then they're just like, "Oh, so about that, we're gonna make you do all of this." And it's like, isn't that kind of like a step in the wrong direction? So I find it funny, and in terms of that, but it's like, I genuinely worry about how, especially hardcore players, are gonna like, because granted, there'll still be XP to be gained from doing the battle pass and going a little bit past it. But what they specifically say is, with the additional time offered by each episode, we've increased the number of weeks in the seasonal challenges, and they will also be receiving a buff to their XP rewards. Given this, we needed to make some adjustments to the XP requirements for the artifact power level. Our goals for the rebalance were that actively engaged players could attain similar artifact levels achieved by the end of an episode, that an artifact remains a rewarding pursuit throughout. So like saying, hey, we want to make sure that you have things to reach for beyond just playing the game endlessly to get to like rank 1,000 and actually doing something about it, which that's cool, but it feels weird the way they're like going about it, if that makes sense. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. Now here's something that I want to give Bungie a lot of praise for. Account-wide power. Bungie is saying, if you got one character that's 1810, or in the case of Final Shape 2000, once you hit the hard cap, any drops on your other character, say if you're a Titan like me, but you have a Warlock and a Hunter, and you don't want to have to replay the seasonal content, replay the story content to get those high pinnacle drops, cool. Once you hit the hard cap on one, you'll be able to start just getting like those high drops for your other characters. And especially someone like me who's had 1810 weapons, almost all of his weapons are 1810, and I'm just moving them to other characters. It's felt so weird having like 1809, 18 this for my Hunter, my Warlock, but like my weapons are all 1810. I think this is a step in the right direction. One thing that I also dig is they're getting rid of power level jumps, like as like a thing that you can buy for silver, and just saying, hey, you don't need that anymore. You can just jump up to the next power level with some upgrade modules, and I don't have to worry about that. Which that's such a great thing. I want to give Bungie their flowers for that one. That is such a great thing to do.
Trim the fat. Get it out.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, he was just talking shit. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, okay. I was gonna say like just like factoring in with like the power changes. I also like the fact that they're like changing the naming and adding more of a spread between the different difficulty tiers, right? Like your standard and your expert, master, all of that. I think, granted, it's all semantics, right? Advanced, expert, master doesn't matter. But I think for the average player base, being able to see like an incremental process or incremental steps to like types of content removes a lot of the questions people ask. Again, we've already touched that a lot of questions and concerns come from like the lack of just trying and lack of effort. But if Bungie front loads all these systems that are quality of life updates, it's really hard to be that lazy.
Yeah.
Moving forward. So if you know that like you're not comfortable doing, I guess, legend content now, but advanced doesn't seem as scary because it's like 5 power below or 10 power below. I think the difference is 10.
Which we didn't talk about that. They're renaming some of the shit. They're like, hey, at like advanced used to be hero, and then expert's gonna be legend. I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and I think going from standard, advanced, expert, master, grandmaster, and contest. I think that sets a very clear path for people. As far as power. And they also made a grid that shows you what to focus on. Granted, there's going to be people in the community that are expert players and expert thinkers that are going to pick that apart and tell us how it's wrong, and that's fine. But for the average Joe, for Trucker Dad 42069, nice. He gets to hop on the game, be given like enough rails by Bungie to kind of like steer him towards content. He gets to shoot a couple aliens and then go to bed feeling great.
Yeah,
and I don't
that's me. That's me.
Yeah,
I think. Know?
Is that your secret gamer tag that we don't know about, Diva?
He knows it. He knows me.
His alt account.
That's a Smurf account that he hides on.
Look, I gotta help out the new light somewhere.
Now, talking about helping out new lights and returning players, they also improved the power of rewards. Now, this was another freaking win for Bungie and also for the community. So basically now there used to be a sizable pool of where you could get your powerfuls and pinnacles. Now they're expanding it to just about everything. And to me, that's a fucking win.
I think so.
Because now it's like you are going to get rewarded playing the game.
Because there might be that one motherfucker that just loves doing public events, and now he can get rewarded for doing public events.
Wow. That sounds.
I mean, you gotta start somewhere.
Right.
Say his name, bro.
I mean, I don't know who it is. Granted, Cajun loves doing some Kel drills, but like I don't know. Like he loves digging for glimmer. I don't know.
Look, I mean, only when I gotta do it for those freaking seasonal challenges, because goddamn. And Bungie, for the love of God, fix the Neomuna challenge. That shit takes forever.
It does.
See, what's so fun. Here's my one thing: if we're going to the system where you can do stuff on like and get more power level from stuff, but B, you're gonna make more seasonal challenges. I want, and like I don't know if this is possible. I not even fun shit. Bring adventures back because I miss adventures. But B, I want Bungie to straight up be like, hey yo, every place you go is gonna have the same level of enemy damage that like starting Neomuna did for just like patrols and public events, stuff like that. I love that. Yes.
No. Because you gotta remember. You gotta remember.
It punches me at level 100. Like I want to fight. Damn it.
Herein lies the problem with it. This is why I will never go
scaling.
For that. There has to be a like progression to certain things, and I'm gonna tell you right now, 100%, a new light's gonna get in there, and they're gonna like feel like they're like absolute dog shit because they've been playing for 5 hours in the same drig is like Randall the Vandal over there beating the shit out of them, and they don't understand why. They don't understand that they're
Speaking of which, see Randall the Vandal
will
got some lore last week or whatever. Like he's actually like mentioned in the lore now.
Yeah,
he's part of lore now. That was
That's
legit.
my boy. My first Wrath of the Machine, I got Randall perfected.
Oh my
So
yeah. But you know, like, or at the very least, I don't know if it'll fuck up like a matchmaking for servers, but I would love like a legend ED or something like that, like where it actually feels like going around like doing public events is challenging. Because at this point,
going around,
I think would be good though.
Yeah, like it'd be dope.
Yeah. Like
I am of the belief that the reason why nobody goes and does anything on these patrol zones is because there's nothing to do. We've been doing.
It's because everything feels like
EDZ
paper.
has been the same. Paper. It's been the same since the game released.
Well, that's
I am of the belief that we need to go to like a Season of the Haunted style of content where we pick a location and we give it a seasonal coat of paint. Bam. Some
Man, you want to be able to content. Callus, I swear.
Like, look, some content and get people planet side doing things together, like we did in Season of the Haunted. Or we went to the Leviathan, had a fresh new coat of paint on it. It wasn't necessarily huge or big, but there was stuff going on. People could get in there. New lights could come in and like just shoot the shit and shoot stuff, meet other players. Other players were coming in doing the like seasonal event, getting content, getting like things done. And then it gives people a reason to go see something.
I got a great idea for you, Diva. I got a great idea for you. And this is how we get Wrath back. Oh, Season of the Siva.
Oh way. We already have Strand. What more do you want?
Like straight up, just give us back the Plague Lands and give it to us as a patrol space for like a whole expansion, and then just roll back in. Unquarantined and let me back in, damn it! Like it'd be fun. Like, you know how cool that'd be? Just like Season of the Siva, roll back in, and you just see. And here's how you do it too. Here's the big boss for the whole episode. Like the whole, like the big bad for the whole episode. Fucking Fellwinter walks out of nowhere covered in Siva, and it's like, oh, you thought Rasputin was gone, motherfucker? Nah, son, I'm covered in Siva and I'm ready to play. That's how we do it right there. Season of the Siva right there.
I think you dropped the ball. You just had it. We had a perfect thing I thought you were gonna say, and then you just, what if we go back?
What did you think I was gonna say?
Siva again? It's like
what did you think I was gonna say?
I was really hoping it wasn't more of this Siva nonsense, bro. You want Twilight?
Like, what did you think it was gonna be?
I thought you were gonna say that we would like take a patrol zone and then just like actually do like Final Fantasy 14, where they incorporate older quests, like older locations and older things into newer quests, and make people play with newer players. Like you're forced into like match made like adventure style activity that forces you to engage with old content. And yeah, you can warp it up. Let's do what let's do what Diva said. Find a location. Let's go to the EDZ and let's just take one season where we turned it into a nightmare. I don't care what we do with it.
Or turn
it into something silly. Okay, this is why the Plague Lands doesn't work, because it's on quarantine and Shaq said we can't go back. How about that one? Plus,
but Shaq also says I gotta have hung jury for the 50th time, but here we are. We fucking doing shit.
Oh, dude.
Functional difference between Siva and Strand. Don't worry, I'll wait.
We actually got to play with Strand and not Siva. Hey, I'll
that feels bad, bro. That was cold. That was cold.
Oh my
god! All right, so Bungie's doing a cool little thing when Pantheon drops on Tuesday. What is Tuesday? Fucking May it's not even. It's April 30th. April 30th, when Pantheon drops, a bunch of streamers are doing a cool little thing. I saw the reward for this. Whichever team wins this little challenge is getting a full-scale Falling Guillotine Brave Edition.
That's tight.
Woo! What I would do, man.
A shot and having carried a big.
I'm so upset about Pantheon
Why?
And
Why are
I'm
you
just
upset
gonna
about
have to
Pantheon,
eat that
Diva?
shit. I'm just gonna have to eat it because I feel like this complaint is just gonna be like, like Pantheon I was super excited for it when they announced it. And they're like, yeah, we're gonna add in this new raid,
Boss rush.
boss rush mode where people can come in and do the raid. And like, I was like, that sounds really cool. It's interesting, just like Onslaught. We have a new way of doing older content and enjoying older content. But then they turned around and they were like, for a limited time. And I've just been like,
listen here, damn it.
What?
Listen here. I talked about this last week. I think it's cool that Bungie's giving prestige back to the game of like you had to be there, because we haven't had a you had to be there beyond contest mode for a hot minute. I love what they did with the new Whisper ship and soon the new Outbreak ship, where it's like you don't get the old 1,000 Wings. You get a new version. Like, you don't get the old version, because I didn't get the old one, and that's cool.
And not only that, the newer version you can apply shaders to, and the shaders interact in very interesting fucking ways. Because one of Dan, my buddy who I've been playing with on stream a lot lately, helping him out with his D2 stuff, he put one on. It makes it almost look pearl.
Yeah,
it is fucking gorgeous.
But at the same time, it's like I think Dado said it best. It feels like we've gone from handing everybody like, "Hey, you did this, good job," to handing everybody freaking participation trophies, and it's like, where is the ability of like, hey, you made the time, you had the time to get through this in a small amount of time. Like, I don't see anyone bitching about the shiny weapons. The shiny weapons are gonna.
I bitched about that too.
Oh no, you still got people out there that are complaining about the shiny drop. And
I'm sorry.
To me, it's like, how much time are you putting in? Now, granted,
it's fine.
Now, granted, there have been some people that have been posting out like information showing like, hey, I've been doing these runs nonstop, and I've gone week to week and a half with no shiny drop. To me, it's like, okay, there should be a bit of an RNG protection against it, like some sort of.
I think if you're already focusing a weapon, it could be like 1 every 50, 1 every 100 or something like that. Like, we don't want freaking like the mythic shards from Apex, where like it's 1 every 500 fucking loot boxes. But like, it genuinely is a thing of like, I think I enjoy the prestige of you had to be there. I miss that. I'm not saying
I agree. I agree with that. But to me, it's like when you've got people that are actually presenting data that's showing that like, hey, I'm going like so far without getting one. To me, it's like, hey, Bungie, we still got some time. We got about a month left.
Can we up it a little bit?
Yeah,
just make everything shiny on the last 2 weeks.
I don't even want them to be shiny. I'm looking for the damn fucking the double perks. I don't give a shit about the damn like wrap. I took it off of a couple guns because I didn't care. Because truth be told, there's some guns that look really sexy with Nectar Dynamo and people are sleeping on it. I don't need that random extra shiny shit. I'm here for the double perks. I don't care about the shiny. So it's like, I'm very much of the opinion that when it comes to Pantheon, I think that while I think down the road, and Bungie even kind of said like, hey, thanks to your feedback, we might bring it back down the road. That's cool. But for a limited time, you had to be there. I enjoy the concept of there being more opportunities for that beyond a day one raid. I think it's cool.
You're about to say something? Not a surprise that we get to see Luke Smith's face again after we buried him in the backyard. And he showed up, he gave us like a little smile and a wink, and then they started announcing all these FOMO things because he knows it works. He knows the levers to pull, right? But I also genuinely think that like everybody's okay with RNG as long as it favors them. And then the second they realize that they have just bad luck sometimes because it's random, they want to start fixing it. It's like, no, you play a game with random chance and random drops. And you know what? I'm not going to discredit the guy's effort for making that post, the one that you're talking about, Cajun, where the guy talked about he played for like a week and he ran run after run. It was on Reddit, right? On the Destiny subreddit.
Yeah.
And he talked about how he just thinks the drop rates are like disgusting. All of that data is fine, but I also think he forgets the fact that each time he runs it, it's a separate data set.
Yeah.
And yes, over time he might have bad luck, and yes, maybe there are protections in place, maybe they're not, I'm not sure. But I don't think the issue is, it's not rewarding enough. We need to decide whether we're okay with random, where some people get like raid exotics on their first run of every raid they do, or we're okay with random, where if that's the world we live in, that means some people also just aren't going to get drops because there's just
okay. So, Ron, here's my
now,
question:
we build a
how do you feel about crafted weapons?
Oh dear.
Okay, so crafted weapons bring a. Okay, so I think crafted weapons are in an okay spot right now, especially since we're allowed to enhance some of the weapons that come from like master content and like the Brave Arsenal or whatever it is. I think crafted weapons are okay, but I don't think all of them should be able to make 10 out of 10 god rolls.
Ooh.
I think if you're crafting a weapon, and granted, like the barrier of entry is very low for these weapons most of the time. I think if you're able to craft that weapon, you should be able to make like an 8 out of 10, 7.5, maybe 8.5 out of 10.
I like that.
It forces you to still get that 10 out of 10 out of randomly dropped content. But for the 99.95% of people that play this game, a crafted 6 out of 10 is better than half of the stuff that they're going to use anyway.
I like that.
Herein lies
my. They have a weapon crafting system that doesn't have enough support as far as like it doesn't have enough representation of the entire sandbox. Like, why are there only like 7 craftable hand cannons, if even that many? And let me double check. I actually have the game open because like that's something
my thing is with the crafting, and
I like
me
that.
and Jay have said this before. They shouldn't have never brought it into freaking. They never should have made raid weapons craftable.
I agree.
I'll stand by that. But like the seasonal weapons being craftable, absolutely 100%.
Yeah.
And to me, like the fact that some of them have like come out to be strong ones, I like that it's been a mix. Like let's take for this season, right? We've got Scatter Signal, which has become a very good freaking high DPS fusion rifle, right?
Super Cluster, which is a really sleeper slug shotgun that if you know how to use that bitch, it's a mini chaperone, but no one wants to fuck with it because the ammo economy changes in PvP. That I live or die by that thing, man. Like I'll tell you what, like
13
adorative and then the
sidearms.
Because fuck sidearms, pulse rifles all day, baby.
Okay, and so just a little bit of Destiny history for you fans out there. Sidearms used to be special weapons in Destiny 1.
That's true. That's
true. Changed nothing about them and turned them into primaries. So you have one of the highest damage per bullet weapons in the game, and there's only 40 you can craft.
Yep. That's why we're getting rocket pistols. And like we're getting 2 more in Final Shade Proctor said. So it's like then when I bring back the prestige of having a special sidearm. Which I still say, if we had craftable dungeon weapons, I'd be okay with that. If the caveat was taking crafting out of raids, taking crafting out of raids, put it in.
Then you're putting dungeons in the same situation as raids.
Yes. I'm gonna be honest with you. Here's my grievance with this whole argument, right?
Okay.
The whole argument comes from the fact that we think that getting a craftable raid weapon is the penultimate tool, right?
I'll tell you what, Diva. If they ever make Vogue weapons craftable, you will see everybody and their mama throw away their found verdict time loss for a crafted found verdict. I'm telling you now.
It'll be because the new crafted versions are the weapons 3.0 with like a new it
won't matter. It's not even about that. It's the fact
those
that
will
the
be
stats
outdated.
of the crafted version are better.
Yeah, because you can tune them to your liking, sure. But the thing about it is that an adept weapon is supposed to be inherently better than a regular weapon. Can we all agree that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So Bungie's line of thinking here, granted, probably didn't pan out this way, but the line of thinking is you go into the normal raid and you can get, after a little bit of time, little time investment, you can just get whatever role that you want for the normal raid weapons. But the next step is supposed to be you going into the master raids and farming your RNG adept role. But people have gotten to a point where they're like, hey, why do that when adept weapons are only slightly better than the regular counterparts? And now
so
people are like crafting.
System...
A lot of people say crafting ruined the game. A lot of people say that it ruined the game. I think it just gave people a mid-max stopping point because they refused to make adept weapons better. So instead of lowering the ceiling and saying like, no, you need to get rid of this old thing, this new thing, you need to raise up this tier of weapons that most people look at as a trophy anyway. I got it because it's just a trophy and I want to show off that I did the hardest content. Like if you ask me personally, I am of the belief that raids, I know a lot of people consider them in-game. I would consider them mid-tier content at the normal raid level. And master raids are supposed to be the true in-game. But because master raids don't have a loot incentive, most people just don't care. So
I would agree with you if the raid numbers weren't so low, even after Fire Team Fighter came out. I would agree with you if the numbers were higher and people were actually doing the content.
Sure.
Well, maybe that's why they're not doing the content, though. Yeah, the question I was going to ask was, how do you think the crafting system can be changed, or what do you think, without just making numbers go up, what dynamic changes do you think Bungie can make to the raiding ecosystem to make the crafting system not so encroaching on like the in-game pursuit of gear?
That's an interesting question.
That is an interesting question.
Because
what
that's,
I would do,
that's where they are, because based on what Diva's saying, that's literally the crossroads they're at. They have to figure out which things to modulate in order to like alleviate the symptoms. Because they're not going to.
I think that they should make the master raids more lucrative for players, other than just high stat armor. I got the armor that I want to run with already, and I can get high statted armor other places. And master raids don't have artifice, so their high tier armor isn't already the best.
I know have artifice master raids.
Yeah,
that needs to be changed. The adept weapons
artifice is dropped from so many sources, it's not funny.
Exactly.
Like it should be dropping a lot of places.
Not artifice, but like adept weapons, their system is so rudimentary that arguably the adept mods are just what crafting was for them before they came out with crafting. It was like the predecessor to crafting, where you can adjust it to your liking. But now there's nothing on. Like I think you could just add in some better adept mods. Like me personally, I only give a fuck about adept big ones. Personally, that's the only adept mod I really care about. Personally,
because it fuses things together. I like
the
that.
only mod people care about.
Like that. You got take inspect. You can actually take the raid mod system and start incorporating. Like what I would do is I would say, hey, look, here are some raid mods that go on weapons, and they can only go on adept weapons outside of the raid.
Oh my god,
that would make them so much better. And you can change that, and like, hey, it'll even drive people toward getting specific weapons outside of just getting that adept mod and then leaving. And never coming back.
I got another one for you too. I've been saying this for a while now. Bungie needs to put mementos in raids. Do you know what motherfuckers would do if you put mementos in master raids or even regular raids, where you could put taken memento on your favorite crafted weapon? People would go ape shit. Like, you thought motherfuckers were crazy about super black on a weapon. You would see people sweat bullets over getting and then especially if like Oryx had one version of a taken memento, but then Riven had a different version of a taken memento, and then Bungie flips the script again and says you can only get the Riven taken memento if you do Riven legit. That would change the game.
Herein lies the question: how do you code that? That one specific thing. How do you code
they would have to fix it.
Too much time.
Yeah.
Let's take the hitbox off her damn toenails and make you actually fight that woman.
So you might be cooking though when it comes to that adept armor, and so adept weapon slot though? Because like, what if you took the raid armor slot, right, and just killed it?
Yeah, just kill the raid armor slot.
Kill the raid armor slot.
I've said this for a while. I've said this for a while. They need to take the raid armors. They need to remove that mod slot. Number one. Number two, bake the mods into the armor set to where basically one, make it to where the raid armor should be dropping high stat with more stats by cohesion.
Right.
Number two, have the mods built in so basically as you wear more pieces, more of the mods become active.
I like the seasonal.
You want armor set bonuses then?
Okay. Very similar to armor set bonuses.
That would make sense.
I'm okay with that because of transmog, but I also think that a lot of the power from those set bonuses need to really go into the weapon mod slot, like we're talking about. Like we have taken spec, right? Destiny 1, the Wrath of Machine weapons had Whirlwind's Curse, which is the same thing but for the Elixir Fallen, right? There's no reason why we can't have. This is going to sound crazy. I think weapons should have 2 mod slots. There should be like a gameplay mod slot that has things like your backup mags and your radar tuners and your big ones and all that other stuff, and then there should be a second slot that's for enemy combatant style. And that's where you have things like your Whirlwind's Curse and your Taken Spec. But you want to make sure that the content that's being provided doesn't have all of one of any faction ever. The players have to make.
Give me more freaking like the prison of elders type shit, where you pull up and you need every champion type. I want all of that.
So imagine you go into like a new, like say we're dealing with the Vex in the future, right? But the Vex are also going to be using they're in their machinations, right? They're going to be using other factions to help fight us, right? So say you go into a content, you have to fight the Cabal, the Elixir, and the Vex all at once, right? So
kind of like a coalition thing. I like it.
See, exactly. So say you have like your big ones in one slot, but in the next slot you have Taken Spec. Someone else has Whirlwind's Curse. Someone else is running whatever the hell Skyburners uses. Right, because you have bonus damage to Cabal. We already have the systems in place to do bonus damage to enemies. It doesn't have to be a lot. It can be
look what's happening season with the seasonal mod. Like the one seasonal mod lets you do more damage to taking and scoring. They have the tech to do it. It's in the game this season.
And if you don't want to make it a mod, sure, maybe put something else in that slot. So maybe it'd be something like prevents half the CC from the Scions when they do their like Void Blast that launches you up in the air.
Dear.
Or especially we're about to have a problem with the Dread, where they literally can yank your ass like a yo-yo and pull you across the map.
But if you infuse your weapon, like you take something from like Remnants from the Ashes too, right? You put this mod slot on the gun, maybe doing damage, maybe activating an exotic perk, maybe a certain combination of perks with a mod. You can do all these little things to make it a more creative and dynamic experience for people, so that they feel like they're actually fighting against an enemy instead of just shooting against something that looks different.
Now, I gotta put you on to something. Since you mentioned the Vex, I gotta put you on to something.
Oh no!
This is my. I gotta hear my sales pitch
because
you gotta hear my So Bife had a video where Bife had a video said after Final Shape, the Vex need to be the biggest bad in the universe, right? So I had an idea last year where I said, what if, since we want the Vex to be the most dangerous, since we have Overload Minotaurs and we have Anti-Barrier Hobgoblins, unstoppable Wyverns.
I fucking can't stand you, bro. No.
Everybody looks at me like I'm crazy, bro. Unstoppable Wyverns would be amazing.
Wyvern. No.
Oh, it was so good. It'd be so
Alice
good.
said that when we fought the Vex, that we've been fighting like their farmers and their like common people, and then the first like combat class Vex that we fought was a Wyvern. We don't want that to be a champion, because then what else is behind it? Right? What else are we gonna end up fighting? Because the chicken is already doing enough. I'm sorry.
We start seeing Panopti start falling from the sky, like, hey yo, we squatting up on these mugs, fam.
If I have to fight a champion Panopti, I promise you, I'm gonna have to find you, and we're gonna have to have a very physical conversation
I just
want the name. Call it Champion Chicken.
We're gonna have a
I just want
meeting behind the tool shed. I'm just saying.
I just want Panoptes to come back. I want Panoptes to come back, and
I want to watch people suffer. That's
because Panoptes had such a cool design, and the Panoptes got robbed. They said we're just gonna have you throw a ball at him with Osiris, and then have him have a giant crit spot. Panoptes look so cool. You know what also looked cool? The giant Hydra thing from fucking Eater of Worlds. That was one of the coolest fucking bosses. And yet we never use it ever again. Makes me so mad. That thing is so cool, so dynamic.
It got roasted in the trash compactor. It's gone.
Yeah, but I want more. I want all the Vex to bring more of them big motherfuckers out here.
And it's clogged. Can you just go take care of it? We go down in there. We're like, oh, there's like a whole Hydra in here. What is this? What the fuck?
Where the fuck did it come from? Why?
I remember that, but like, I want the Vex to pull up with some big shit. I want the Vex to pull up with some big motherfuckers. And you know what Vex needs a redo that I've been saying ever since Season the Splicer came out. The biggest character assassination in the history, like fuck Callus. The biggest character assassination in Destiny 2 history, in my opinion, was fucking Coria. Blade Transform. Because that thing was talked about in the lore for so long that Savathun and Riven baked her like a damn cake to be the baddest thing in the world and all this shit. And then my ass walked in there as a story mission and Double Thunder crashed into death. Like, I was a solo player during that season. I walked in and just pulled up and blasted.
I feel that way about so many different villains that we fought. Callus, Coria. What was his name from the fucking Fickrel? So many.
Fickrel was okay. Fickrel's still alive. We're gonna deal with Fickrel later this year, so he's fine.
But just the fact that we build these characters up, this is what I'm super afraid of with the Witness, and especially with Zeevil Wrath, is that we build these villains up to be super interesting, or we don't build them up at all, and we just throw them out there and we just clean.
You just don't want her to be bad that way. You can be part of the fans club.
We don't give them the room that they need to be, like, I don't want to say successful boss, but a satisfying success. Like, we beat Callus, and they built Callus up for years.
Only to get his ass kicked.
To get like absolutely washed. It was unsatisfying. Like, I beat him and I was just like, okay. Like, as like a minor road bump in the road to get where we were supposed to be going.
Well, like, I even said that like all they needed to do was just have him be a raid boss. Like fuck Nezarec. We could deal with Nezarec next year or some shit like that. Well, like we could have had him like Callus be the end raid boss and him be a bad mamma jamma, and we didn't do that.
I think Callus's whole point was that he was filled with like his own personal grandeur, and he was always cared about opulence, and he cared about his image. But like, I think deep down, Callus was never really supposed to be like some kind of galactic threat. Remember, his whole goal
that's actually
was
true.
To survive the final shape and just kind of witness what happens. It's almost like he led himself through his own delusions into being killed. But I do agree with what Diva says that we do need more
satisfying.
More like I want more than that. I want bosses that break the Destiny bubble. Because you know what? Not everyone plays every game. A lot of gamers these days know Savathun because I think the Witch Queen had a really nice like marketing push behind it, and she was supported well.
And Deborah Wilson's a bad bitch.
I want people to be like, "Oh, Destiny. Oh, that's the game with the Witness, right?" I want them to just know the one thing that that pierces that veil.
All they know about is Cade. All they know about is Cade.
Don't you fucking
leave my Vanguard out of
it. Bro, I've said it so many times. Tell me I'm wrong. Like, Cade is literally a Deadpool ripoff. Tell me I'm wrong.
Like,
no. I understand. He's basically a Firefly character that Nathan Fillion played.
Literally, like Cade.
Thank you, Darren. Thank you, Darren.
Thank you. Such a Deadpool ripoff.
Gina Torres was also playing Cora.
No, because
Firefly.
No.
I want to be honest with you.
I think you're just upset that Nolan North played Cade in Forsaken, and he played Deadpool. Nolan North walked in to play Cade that day and just put on his Deadpool voice. That's all he did.
And that's okay.
That,
that's an interesting character that people enjoy.
Do you say the same shit for freaking Christopher Sabat?
No, because at least with Christopher Sabat, like I get, because I can say definitively that that Christopher Sabat sounds different as Vegeta than that he does as All Might. He sounds dynamically different in terms of tone, in terms of gravel. There's a difference. But like,
I'm gonna tell you right now, when you listen to him as Piccolo, guess what? He sounds almost like freaking All Might.
Yeah, he does.
There are very few voice actors that I've heard out there that are actually dynamic, and that's okay because that's what a lot of the
I wasn't even busting his balls about his thing. I'm saying that literally Cade is just a Deadpool ripoff because people enjoy that type of humor and that type of thing.
If you're gonna say that, then Deadpool is a She-Hulk ripoff.
You're right. I'm not saying you're wrong. I say fuck the dude bros because literally Dan Slott wrote She-Hulk to be the original fourth wall breaker. I'm not saying you're wrong.
If you're gonna be overly reductive to a character and just feel like they're a Deadpool, then we're gonna go all the way back. What's the oldest story ever told that somebody was trying to break the fourth wall, and that's what they are. Like, there's no reason to be that reductive. You can just say you don't like the character, and that's fine.
I mean, I like his lore. I think the community and the a million different Cade 6 clans that I see in the game have left a bad taste in my mouth to where I've said it before that Bungie will never nerf Ace of Spades because they know people will have a bitch fit about Cade. I've said it before and I'll say it again. All right.
I'm gonna say this.
Ooh, okay.
Had Cade 6 not died in Forsaken, had it been Zavala or had it been Ikora, it would have been the same situation. I'm
what do you mean?
Stand by that.
They don't have guns that people love like that.
No, I get you. No, yes, they do. The lies you tell.
They're the martyr.
No, I'm not referring to Ace of Spades. I'm referring to the character situation that you're talking about. How people, memorialize Cade, reverse it with another character of
that's how we've seen it.
Of the Vanguard.
Stop that.
I think if Zavala and Ikora were built out in the way that Cade was given the space to shine, I think you would have a better analogy if you went with Eris Morn. Because as much as people treat her like a side and a tertiary character, there's a ton of people that love Eris.
Oh yeah,
I'm not one of them.
Remember, Destiny was inspired by Dark Souls, right? And you have
most definitely.
You don't like Eris Morn because Eris Morn is the better Hive God of War.
No. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't like Eris because I feel like her character is just. I'll be honest with you. I don't identify with her character. And that is okay, 100%. I'm
sorry, that was the greatest bird that Cade has ever put out his mouth. That was sexy.
Just devoid of, like, it feels bland to me.
Just be honest, Demon. Just be honest. You don't like golf chicks with fishnets. You don't like golf chicks with fishnets.
The furthest thing from the truth. Because I absolutely love golf chicks with fishnets.
I'm about to say,
but Eris is just he's depressing, and I'm just like, I'm
dead, bro.
But when it comes down to like her lore, it just I feel like everything that Eris is involved with is interesting, but she just falls into the background. Like the whole thing with Crota, like Crota and the Hellmouth. And the fact that she survived that, really interesting stuff. But I care more about the Osmium Court that she's involved with more than I care about her character. You could throw any other character there and put them in the same situation, and I would feel the same way. I feel like Savathun's more interesting.
Being more interesting than the character that's shepherding the story?
Yes. I find
do you think Eris could get like some of her own stories maybe soon one day instead of just being like my friend?
That's what Season of the Witch was, but then everyone threw a bitch fit about it.
Because nobody cared about her. Everybody cared about Saint. If you had replaced her with Saint, I promise you it would have been a way better story.
The same problem now that Saladin had, where Saladin's whole deal was my friends are dead. You know what I mean?
100%.
And that's her whole thing. She's like, hey, Guardian, come here. This is my creepy bone. My friends are dead. And Saladin's like, "Hey, this is my wolf. My friends are dead." So what did they do? They gave him a job. Eris needs a job outside of being in the hidden.
I'm sorry, just the idea of fucking like Salad, especially next week with Iron Banner coming back. The idea of Salad is just at the tower, like my friends are dead. Like just fucking like you just hear Juice WRLD playing in the background, and he just going, "Oh, my friends are dead." Like just fucking.
Hey, instead of the 20-minute rant that Saladin goes on when you get a Wii rant, or he does like his Reaper ult, like the die from Overwatch. What if he just goes, "Guardian, we could have used you hundreds of years ago. My friends wouldn't be dead." Would he just like trauma dumps on you in the middle of the
Just trauma dumps you in the middle of Iron Banner? I'd be so fucking dead.
That
bro.
would be hilarious.
Oh wow, I miss her. And all this.
Oh
my god.
Oh brother.
I would like that a whole lot more than what I got with him right now.
No, you better shut your mouth because freaking Valis Forge is one of the baddest motherfuckers you've ever done.
Valis Forge is really cool now.
Because if you read the lore entry of how he became a Valis, where he's like it's almost like the Hunger Games, where he's like chilling in the elevator, getting ready. He goes and grabs his axe off the stand. He fucking rolls in and tries to tell dude like, "Hey, like you can walk out of this. It's fine. Like we can quit this right now." And dude's like, "No, man, square up." Fucking beats his ass, and then it's like yield. Never fucking beats his ass and kills him. And Kaido even does the drop, the thumb drop, and you're like, oh, and like it's one of them things of like Saladin shows that he may be an old motherfucker, but when he needs to throw down, it's on.
Like it goes hard.
Boss.
But
we need a guardian.
I'm gonna be
for multiple seasons.
Mm-hmm.
A guardian enemy.
So
I want them
honest.
teleporting with blink. I want them shooting Noah bombs. I don't want it to be like Sabaton.
I'm gonna say this. We need to fight some Dredgens.
No.
We killed them all, didn't we? I want it to be a Kingdom Hearts fight. Fuck it. I want mad.
Oh my god.
I want them shooting. I want to see a Gallahorn get shot at me. Just from the MP.
No. You know
all the
really cool. Yo, hot take. After Final Shape, fucking Drifter walks into the tower like, "You guys shut down Gambit," and he just goes off. Fucking lights up the tower, mad as hell. They deleted Gambit from the game and unsanctioned his sport, and gets mad as hell. Like literally pulls up, walks in with a ton of outlaw guardians.
Be so much of an interesting character if they really just let Gambit fucking shine. Put some actual juice in the Gambit again, and just
Gambit is fun.
All in with
Gambit
the
is fun, but
but
like I love how Bungie was like, "Hey, we're gonna put Hive Guardians and Shadow Cabal into Gambit." We ain't seen shit about it. They told us that shit a year ago. We ain't heard
nobody
about it.
cares.
Nobody plays Gambit. It's one of the most fun things in a game, and everybody thinks it's trash because they're bad. That's why.
Have you heard my conspiracy theory about
it? Hasn't evolved. There's no point in playing it because the Gambit I play today is the same Gambit I played 3 or 4 years ago. I agree. If you don't put no time behind it, you won't get anything.
Here's my conspiracy theory. I don't know, like you might like this too because of both of us doing journalism shit. You might like this. I have a conspiracy theory. The reason why Gambit has fallen to the wayside is that it was an Activision mandate so they could create an esport, a Destiny esport. And when not enough people played it, and because when you look at the original like trailers, they had like different like armors and different things like, hey, you're gonna be the invader, you're gonna be the gatherer, yada yada, and it was gonna be a whole thing. And then when nobody fucked with it and Gambit Prime was too complex, and when Bungie left Activision, they were like, "Okay, cool, we're getting rid of that. We're not going to care about that anymore. Bye. We're going to put it all in one mode and leave it off to the side, and we're going to let it die. And then we're going to blame the player base at one point, and like we're going to gaslight them into believing it's their fault why Gambit's dying."
So there's a little bit of truth to what you said, like factual, right? So Gambit was designed as an esport adjacent mode in the game.
Oh my God.
I'm not sure if you guys remember when they first unveiled the mode, they had people like Fallout, and I forgot, it might have been MTest and Fallout doing commentary. And they were watching other like top players play Gambit. That's the same thing they did with Crucible. Here's the thing. A lot of pro players, a lot of top players don't like a lot of the crazy sandbox stuff in their PvP. Bungie abhorrently wants that stuff in their game. Like, hey, if you're gonna play our esport, you're gonna play our high-end game, and we're gonna support it. You're gonna play our game. Not this weird ban half the stuff in the game, no abilities, none of this. We're trying to sell the game through this esport. Play it. Nobody wanted to do that. Sir D made a video on it years ago. I think it wasn't Sweat, but it was somebody else in that same time made a video on it years ago. How they were actively working with Bungie to make Crucible and /Gambit much better, more competitive. But the stopping point was Bungie wanted abilities and exotics that a lot of the top players didn't. So Bungie just said, fuck it. You're not going to support the game we want to play. We're just going to make the game as good as we can. The esport thing won't happen. But Gambit was 100% planned to be an esport. That's why the Bungie Award let you buy a jersey. That's why they had commentators. That's why they were team roles. That's why it was a whole thing. But people just didn't care. Because I don't think the incumbent audience for Destiny cares about esports. Not in that game.
Look at me being right. Ain't that about a bitch?
I'm trying to find a video of Fallout doing commentary because I distinctly remember watching the stream.
Now, that actually bleeds into our final topic of the evening. Hardware. You just brought up a lot of good points of why I'm annoyed. Because I talked about this when they first announced it, and now that it's finally coming to the game. And Bobby Sox, and I've invited Bobby on the show. We've talked about it in replies. Bobby Sox was like, I don't understand why people's argument as to why hardware is bad is people just want Bungie to make a Call of Duty game. Because here's the thing. Everybody who played D1, a good chunk of the D1 community and the D2 content creator community was people who enjoyed Call of Duty. The majority, and I said it earlier in the show, people who gravitate towards Hunter are Call of Duty players because it's the easiest to engage with a Call of Duty. And when you just go, hey, I don't like this game with its abilities and all this other fun shit that Bungie wants to incorporate, I just want the gunplay. You are defeating the purpose of the game and you need to go play Call of Duty. Well, I don't like Call of Duty's gunplay. That's not my problem. Wait for Marathon. And yet, all these people bitched and moaned so much that hardware is becoming a mode. And similar to what I said about Checkmate, I have a really bad fear that if hardware is well received by the community, it will go from being a random gacha game mode that's in the rotator to being comp and trials. And I am so afraid that's going to be the reality for so many of us who enjoy the abilities, the supers, the exotics. It'd be like, because if you look at the private lobby Discord servers, there's ban lists. There's certain things there's different guns you can't use, the different rule speculation they stick to. And if hardware becomes a reality where it's in trials and comp, I might stop playing PvP because I didn't come to Destiny for Call of Duty. If I want to Call of Duty, I would go play Call of Duty. I don't care. I'm sorry. Like if you want Bungie's gunplay mechanics, wait for Marathon. Like hardware is a step in the wrong direction. I will die on that hill.
I think it's okay to have in the game as like a side mode, but as long as it's put on guardrails and it doesn't seep into the whole game because we're playing a space magic game. I also put the link in. It was BEEFY and Fallout that did it.
Okay, cool.
It was a Destination Forsaken thing, and it was like a whole tournament.
Oh, that's
so. In regards to hardware, like when they announced Checkmate, I backed it because I felt like it was Bungie experimenting with things, and lo and behold, that's what it did.
I was right.
They were experimenting, and with that, they made adjustments and tuned the sandbox. And I think we can all agree that tuning since then, the sandbox, the PvP sandbox has felt better.
To a degree, yes. To a degree.
Okay. Now, do I feel that they're going to be using hard mode as another way of tuning the sandbox? It's quite possible. It's quite possible that now they're looking for specific data only from the weapon gunplay. Okay. Now, could they obtain this only purely from Crucible in the current sandbox? I don't know. I'm not a developer. I would assume so, but it's quite possible. Maybe they want to throw in, like you said, a different game mode. We already have, was it Mayhem? which is the complete opposite spectrum.
Momentum control.
Yeah.
All kinds of
So
things.
having an additional mode that they could throw into the side of rotator, not a bad thing.
Not
give a different flavor. I mean, hell, Call of Duty does it. Other freaking PvP games do it. You have your main modes, and then you've got this one little side mode that you change on the week. That's not a bad thing. Bungie experimenting with new modes for the PvP sandbox is not a bad thing. Now, I do agree. If they try to force it into the main, that is going to be detrimental. Hardcore detrimental to the freaking life of the PvP community. And I think overall, even the casuals would lose their shit if this was pushed into every facet. And I don't see Bungie doing that.
I don't think they're gonna do that because that is exactly what would happen.
Yeah.
And they would the community the community would let it be known that this isn't fun. And sure, there's gonna be a vocal minority of players that like, but we like it. But just like with fucking special in trials, it's gonna come out and they'll be like, look, this is what's happening. Like they'll be like, you know what, on second thought, just take it back to what worked.
Man, it felt good to have the trans map back in the game this week.
100%.
Man, like the reign of Forerunner has calmed down, and it's a great thing, man.
Mm-hmm.
Oof.
It's weird. I don't know. I feel like PvP is in a weird spot because it feels like anyway on my end. You guys can tell me what you think, and maybe I'm wrong. Bungie seems to be like hitting a stride with PvE, where they're kind of getting a more clear idea of like what direction they want the game to go in. I can tell there are pivots coming in the final shape and afterwards, like major pivots, almost like Destiny 3 level pivots coming, right?
Mm-hmm.
To 2, because I think they're trying to just shake things up. But I think PvP is one of the hard ones because you have so many people that love the game a certain way, and rose-tinted glasses back to 30th anniversary balancing. People are always like gonna like mention that and bring that up. So I think it's really hard for Bungie to figure out what they want trials to be. Is it supposed to be in-game PvP? Is it supposed to be a loot system? What's going on with comp? Is that okay? You can get artifice armor, but like, is it really more of a grind? Is it worth it? Does it matter?
The stats on them are atrocious.
There's so many things. There's so many things that people don't that PvP needs to be self-sustaining that it doesn't have. And I really think that Bungie needs to go back and not reinvent like they try to do. I think they need to slowly really just stop and think, what do we want for these modes? And when they can figure out what they want for the modes, they'll have a better plan of attack on how to adjust them. I'm not saying they're not working, because they touch PvP with every balance pass, whether it be a mode, a bug fix, an adjustment, trying this, trying that. I think it's wonderful. But PvP needs an identity. And if that has an identity and PvE has an identity, guess what automatically has a void that it can fill? Gambit.
Yeah.
Gambit's
I think Gambit to exist needs to have its own sandbox. If Gambit
I think the PvE or PvP part, I think PvE and PvP need to be established pillars that have clear identities. Because you can't merge identities unless you have clear identities. And Gambit will bridge that gap from PvE to PvE, but until they figure out what they're doing with those polar opposites, I don't think they're going to ever find a way to make Gambit work. And that's why I think hardware is scary for me. Because if they would learn the wrong lessons from hardware, then Gambit is more dead than it ever will be.
Yeah. And like I've said for a long time.
Split the sandbox. No, they just need to split the sandbox 100%.
Yes. Most definitely.
They've already split the sandbox.
They need to split it more.
A lot of they need to make a full Moses split of the sandbox, and they haven't done that.
I think Cajun's right though, because almost every pass that they make very specific choices for the balances.
Tell that to my goddamn hunter builds, goddammit.
Right. So like I'm a warlock player, right? Here, just think about this for a second. You're a warlock player.
Rest in peace, young Karm Sabine.
Bungie tells you that the Warlock Strand, the Broodweaver, is supposed to be the Threadling Master. Within 2 months, there are more Threadlings on the screen than you can count, and they're all coming from hunters.
Hear me out, though. Look at
I tried to tell Diva this, and he didn't want to believe me.
Look at all the investment that hunters had to go through just to make that happen.
They had to wear an exotic and get high.
Exotic armor piece and then
hyper specific build that was such a hyper specific build that if you're gonna argue, well, look at the amount of threadlings that hunters can generate every 45 seconds, and then we don't talk about the fact that Broodweaver has access to stuff like hatchling, the Broodweaver like step, the fact that anytime they drop a rift, they got one, and swarmers that they can passively do.
Threadlings. I am okay with hunters making threadlings.
It was the amount that was kind of wild.
Tell a class that they are the threadling master, and then objectively make the threadling master a different class.
That because Diva, I did the math. I told you before. If you combine 2 of the threaded specters, which is 2 dodges of 6 coyote, plus plus the amount that you get from 2 grenades because of the aspect, that is 15 freaking threadlings every 45 seconds. That is
look
terrifying.
At the amount of resources that one has to spend. One has to spend so many resources.
They have to have max mobility and max discipline, which according to Ferrum is easy to do.
Max discipline, max mobility. But if you're like loading into that, you're giving up your resilience, you're giving up your recovery, you're giving up your entire exotic.
You don't run recovery, Demon. What do you mean?
But in PvP, you need recovery because it's what gets you back in the fight.
I learned that fairly early on,
which is why
Iron Banner when I was freaking grinding for that damn GL.
Which is why hunters are technically the hardest class to build for because we don't have a dump stat.
I will 100% agree with that. And I've talked about that so many times when it comes to the freaking stats. Warlocks and Titans have a better stat priority versus hunters. Hunters have they have so much against them.
It's so impossible
because it's pretty much like there's no way you could freaking triple 100 the top 3 stats because you need resilience to survive, you need recovery to survive, but as a hunter, you need mobility in order to be effective. And it's like, how the fuck? And that leaves the bottom 3.
Plus high intellect, you need high intellect to get your super faster. So
it's high intellect, really, not PvE, but PvP it's important.
Yes, it's a rat race to see who can get their super first. I do see what you're saying. But we'll definitely have to dive back into that. But we definitely need to have a sit down talk about PvP with a PvP expert again. But let's talk about content creation a little bit. So normally we don't dive into what a content creator did other than this week with Dado because Dado kind of got terrorized. But
got dragged.
True Vanguard, well-known PvP enthusiast. I've actually ran into him on my team a couple times in Control before. He put out a video specifically talking about if content creation did a very dangerous number when it comes to the Destiny 2 community. And it was I very much encourage people to watch the video or listen to it, whatever. I'll include it in the show notes. It was a very interesting about 20-minute video where he sits down and talks about how so many individuals will sit there and they will struggle because they're trying to find their niche in the community because of the fact that so many different things have happened, whether it be different controversies, different creators having back and forth with each other, how fast a creator could grow in the space. And it was a very interesting video where it almost shines a light on what content creation has done to the game. And oh, go ahead, Gaten.
And not just that. And so a lot of people have a good understanding. This is about content creation. This is about doing the actual content creation. This is about the platforms. This is about that aspects, not specifically what certain creators have done to the Destiny 2 space. But even then, he goes on to say that this is something that could be viewed at all of gaming. Mm-hmm. What content creation has done to change how we view, how we perceive, how we play the games.
how we engage with each other.
How we engage with the games and each other. It was very, very interesting. And I'm going to say this. I told y'all so. I told you why I wasn't the only one that was thinking this. And I go back to several conversations that we've had before when it comes to how I've mentioned that I feel that PvP, when people say, you know, that scream that SBMM is the biggest problem in freaking PvP right now. And they say, you know, we need to go back to the way things were back in Halo 3 and the original Modern Warfare. Guess what? SBMM was running back then too. Here's the difference.
It became a buzzword that was known about.
The mentality shifted. The gamer mentality shifted because back then, the vast majority of people were casual. Yes, you did hear things like MLG and such. And some people aspired to be better, which not a bad thing. Never a bad thing. Always aspire to be better. But over the past decade and plus, things changed. Content creation started to boom.
Most definitely.
People started to deep dive how to get better and started making videos about that. And then the buzzword, the meta. We saw it in so many different games. You can look it up. Call of Duty, League of Legends, Tribes, Battlefield, World of Warcraft.
Super Earth.
Exactly. The meta became dominant to where content creation, it was a very clickbaity thing. Use this weapon to win to win all of your fights. Use this build.
The best build in the game.
To make your content
broken.
Exactly. And now look at what we have as far as the Destiny 2 community. As a streamer myself, how many times I have people jump into my streams, whether TikTok, YouTube, or Twitch, talking about, oh, you should be running Sunshot. You should be running Sunshot. There are so many other solar weapons other than fucking Sunshot.
I mean,
to achieve the same thing.
Good. Have you seen the Vex?
Heaven enjoyer right here.
Here's a fun little fact. Zoli's Bane is literally the exotic stepbrother of Sunshot.
But it looks like it looks like bone and it's weird, but I can have a Vex Sunshot ornament, Cajun. What are you talking about?
My duo is Crazy A. Tim, shout outs to him. He's been running Sunshot, Zali's Bane so much this season, and he's put I think 100 tiers of levels on it just this season.
Jesus.
Hey,
he's just been destroying ads with it.
Oh yeah, same here.
It's nasty.
Another weapon that I've been having a freaking prime time with is the freaking Nightfall solar bow. Freaking, I got the Archer's Tempo incandescent. Fun fact: you need 2 headshots to go radiant under the current seasonal artifact. Freaking, you know how easy that is?
So easy. Especially Archer's Tempo. Shoot, one gun that I've been telling everyone that they should have grinded for when it was available as an adept weapon, Buzzard. Buzzard, especially this season with anti-barrier sidearm, with overflow and kinetic tremors, has been one of the sleeper hits for Onslaught, especially when you get to upper tiers where there are thicker bar enemies and there's anti-barrier enemies constantly. Buzzard destroys champions, and nobody cared about it because they didn't care about sidearms and everything. But then Bungie was like, you know what? Anti-barrier sidearm, and look what happened. People lost out on this great tool.
There's a cool sidearm that is going to be prominent to some players. You won't even see it on your radar. But with the change to sunset weapons, Destiny Dynasty has both Dragonfly and Kill Clip.
I can't believe we skipped that.
In my vault right now.
We'll have to come back to that shit. But no, but also one thing that when it comes to content creation overall that has evolved substantially is the care and the fallout of people's mental health. One of my favorite creators of all time, Nate Wants to Battle, just officially retired from doing gaming content after like selling his music catalog because he did a bunch of different video game covers and video game music. He sold his video game, like his entire music catalog, and got out of content creation because the stress, the anxiety of what are you going to upload next or what are you going to do for the next big thing was such a strain on him that he just couldn't do it anymore. And he felt, but the one thing he kept emphasizing in his video about it, he just kept saying, "I'm free. I'm finally free." And the thing is, some people love content creation. Some people love it. They thrive off of it. But it can lead to where the anxiety and the mental health strain turns people into their worst nightmares. And one thing that is always said is like, do you live a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain? And that was one thing True Vanguard said in his video. And it's like that statement is so true. Look at all the crazy accusations that have come out of popular streamers. Hell, the fucking Pokemon and Minecraft community. Oh Lord. But like in general,
Smash community.
The Smash community. Oh my Lancer. Like it is insane what we've seen come and go from content creation over the years. And like even what was it today? Like FaZe cut like a half their roster or 3/4 their roster because because there was such a rivalry or issue internally. Like there's so many things that can happen because like the content creation space is so volatile. Look at TikTok. TikTok is about to implode because of the US government in terms of like losing access. And so many people found success on TikTok, found economic boom off of TikTok, and they're about to lose that. And there's going to be infighting, there's going to be volatility, and that's how crazy it can be. So I don't want to dive too deep into like the nitty gritty of the video. I want to make sure TV gets a shine, but like I definitely want to spotlight that like I don't want to say that he was entirely right when it comes to content creation shaped the D2 community, but at the same time, I think it's about a good 60-40 split of like content creation did a number on the community, but at the same time, Bungie had their fair share of licks, which alienated people in terms of what they did. Like perfect example that we'll dive into is look at Sunsetting. Sunsetting cut so many individuals away from the game. Sunsetting put like, and the thing is, we've talked about it before about the nitty gritty of it, of why Bungie needed to do it for this reason or for that reason, why the DCV was important in terms of the overall health of the game. But like, a lot of people didn't read the terms and conditions. Everyone didn't think they were going to turn into a human Sentai pad. They thought they were good.
Thank you.
And that's what bit them in the ass. And because they were of the opinion that Bungie was a reputable person or a reputable company that wouldn't just say, "Hey, we get that you bought this, but we're going to take it anyway." They thought, we bought this.
Fun little fact. Almost every live service game have part of their freaking terms of service that they have the right to remove content.
Well, they can't.
I don't feel like that.
For the longest time, as consumers, we never thought that anyone would actually freaking do it.
Well, let Duran speak on it. I think he had some insight to this.
So there's a couple like weird things that like only people that only play Destiny for some reason like don't seem to understand. And this isn't like a shot at anybody. You learn what you learn, you experience what you experience. But Destiny is an MMO, regardless of what anyone wants to say it is, right?
Thank you.
And you can dislike it, but categorically it's an MMO. It doesn't have that feeling of a traditional MMO, which I'll give you credit on. But outside of not being traditional, it serves the purpose of what it does. Technically, MOBAs are MMOs at the end of the day. Overwatch is technically an MMO if you wouldn't be super technical, right? So to get away from that, the way MMOs deal with power creep is technically they usually release new expansions and they make other things obsolete. Card games, they release new sets, they make old sets obsolete. It's no different in Destiny, but a lot of Destiny players play Destiny and they think they're playing Halo. And by I think they're playing Halo, they think they bought a shipped final box product that just gets updates and that's the end of it. They don't realize that they're playing a game that is alive and has power that changes. And for our power to change, there needed to have been sunsetting. Now, I don't think that Bungie handled the sunsetting process properly because it should have been communicated months in advance. and then slowly
Agreed.
rolled out. Because the way they did it, they kind of just did it, which I think is cool. Sometimes you just have to do things. But they didn't have
You
enough
gotta do the big
options in
cut.
the sandbox to support itself, and that's kind of why it felt worst. If they cut out things in the sandbox, but left enough options and tools so they weren't missing entire archetypes. Like, there were entire weapon archetypes that were missing that you couldn't use in endgame and still be successful. Right?
Yep.
But
There were situations where 2 whole expansions like Forsaken and Shadowkeep had sunsetted weapons, and there was no point of even playing that content. They had to reissue those weapons in those dungeons.
And I also think that just like there's a disconnect between. It goes back to what Cajun was saying, and kind of what you touched on too, Jay. Is that like people don't read the terms of service, which I guess most people don't. I do. But they don't understand that like they're playing a game, they're playing a service. So if you think about a service, right? You cannot own a service.
No,
you go to a restaurant, you don't
license.
If you go to a restaurant, you don't own that service. You go to a concert, you don't earn that. You don't own that performance. You bought a ticket to engage with it. I think it's a problem. It's bad. It's capitalism, though, and we can't do anything about that. These companies aren't evil. They're not nasty. They exist to make money. Period.
Yeah.
Now, we can dislike the way they go about it, but to say, "Oh, Bungie's not reputable or they're evil," like it's just money, bro. They don't give a shit. At the end of the day,
all right, Captain Casual. I think you want to say something. I can feel it coming.
Roast me, bro.
That I have. Your position isn't wrong. 100%. It's a live service game, and changes and content going away isn't necessarily something that people should have not been expecting. But I think it is disingenuous to say that you should have expected over half of the game to be taken away from you in one swoop.
To say that over half of the game was removed is very disingenuous.
I did say that Bungie mismanaged.
I disagree, Cajun, because you lost 3 expansions, you lost multiple destinations, you lost like a ton of weapons, you lost like multiple.
No, you
raids.
only lost 2 expansions.
2 expansions is a lot of money. That's $120.
I'm considering. I'm saying overall. So one base game. So one base game, 2 expansions, multiple raids, tons of weapons. All of it was gone overnight. That is about 60 to 70% of what was taken from Destiny. We were left with less than 50% of the game.
And that, with the fact that it was such an unprecedented occurrence. Before that point, you can't name another video game where they were like, okay, it's a service, so we hold the right to be able to take away your expansions that you paid for. That for a lot of players, even when you look back to Destiny 1, you can't name like an expansion that was taken away. Like having it sunset and making that content irrelevant or just in the background for people to kind of do would be more of an understanding. Now, granted, the Destiny community was more understanding, but I don't see that sunsetting as any different than what Turkov is doing right now. We're trying to say, well, it's a service, and we have the right to say that we can change up the TOS and how we do things.
Hold on, we're crossing wires here.
The situation's different. The situation's different.
Yeah, I think the best comparable thing. I think the best comparable thing to what Destiny did, and Bungie did use this comparison, was Diablo. They used Diablo as the benchmark of why they were doing the sunsetting of weapons and armor.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to the content, the content removal was unprecedented. Like WoW still has years and eons of old content. Old MMOs still have plenty of content from back in the day. WoW still makes old content relevant, for crying out loud. But Bungie was the only one to ever do something.
That was exactly what I'm about to say. Final Fantasy 14 is the only MMO that I can genuinely say, in comparison to Destiny. A lot of people use Destiny and Final Fantasy 14 as like sister games to compare. I don't feel that is unfair. But when you compare it to something like Final Fantasy 14, where the game released and was absolutely hated universally, they shit on that game so bad that the dev said, you know what? We are going to scrap the entire game. And they turned that scrapping into a lore point, saying like, look, this is part of the lore. Yeah, exactly. Now look, and it is wiped from the game. And as an apology, they were like, look, we rebuilt the game up from the ground up with your like suggestions and whatnot. And they built upon a Realm Reborn so much that I'm gonna be honest with you, I missed out on 1.0 of Final Fantasy 14, but 100%, I think it was in the best, like the better part of the game. But they never like actively said, hey, look, the people who paid for this content, it's gone forever. We might reissue it. They're like, look, the game was bad. We can admit it. We fucked up. We're gonna redo this, and we hope that you can redeem it when you come back. Kind of like Cyberpunk type shit.
And the thing about it is like, and the thing about it is, but like the one thing we skipped over that like we've been joking about because the whole Dado thing is Bungie's removing the power limit on sunsetted weapons, which I think that's very dangerous, and Bungie's gonna have to do what they should have done in the fucking first place and nerf all that old shit, which they kind of have done to a certain extent, like the nerf Evoker and nerf Mountaintop and whatnot. But like there are some outliers, Kindle Orchid. There's some outliers where there's going to be some dangerous things in the sandbox that Bungie's going to have to go in and tune. But at the same time, like Bungie did something that was unprecedented, which is taking shit that people were of the opinion that they paid for and took it away. And like Diva said, no one has tried since on such a scale because they saw what happened to Bungie and didn't want to have such a mass exodus. And now you see Bungie kind of going back in the system. Granted, one thing that I even saw on Twitter, I forget who specifically posted it, but like they got horribly fucking tore up for it because a lot of people were like super upset about sunsetting, where they were like, like sunsetting being redone, where they're like, oh my god, all of our shit's being like we deleted all of our shit. And one of the devs was like, hey, there was a reason why we did this. There was a reason why we had to make it so older players and returning players and newer players could all coexist and yada yada, which is great. But like the amount of hate that he got in his comment section was unheard of. Like and this kind of goes back to last week, but at the same time, I think this was different than what we talked about last week, where this was done to explain. And the way he handled it was so well done. He was like, look, we're sorry. We can't just give you back your shit. But we're gonna try to reissue it in different ways with new origin traits, new things, new perks, yada yada. Now, granted, I will be of the opinion that some of the reissuings have been a detriment to those weapons, i.e. the moon weapons. You saw a Loud Lullaby, one of a fan favorite hand cannon, fall off real hard because they took some perks off of it, or certain archetypes lost perks. Like Mindbender's Ambition never recovered. Like they brought that thing back as a Nightfall weapon. That thing was dog water. Like I still am irritated by that. Like, my baby never came back in a good way. But everyone's like, oh my God, Quick Draw on Mindbenders is back. Well, I kept it, but not everyone kept it. So it's a detriment. But and Destiny Bulletin pointed out that Perfect Paradox was in the trailer a couple weeks ago, and I didn't see it. And I just saw that. I'm like, oh, baby. Oh.
So I have a question.
Okay.
I have a question.
I'll tell me.
Why does the community conflate sunsetting with the DCV? Because they're not
because they were both in the same instance. They think they're both in relation to each other, I believe.
But they're really not, to me anyway. And at least I'll explain why, and you guys can tell me how wrong I am after.
Okay.
So the DCV was like a bloat thing. Because we talked about MMOs. We talked about long-standing games. They all have old stuff. You know what a lot of those players talk about?
No. There's a lot more context to the whole DCV bit.
Right, but I'm going to get into that a little bit. So I think yes, there was bloat, there was some issues there, but remember, Bungie was also doing engine updates to the Tiger engine at the time. And they did the lighting engine update also. Nessus was the first planet that they adjusted to the new coding for Ant Tiger and the new lighting engine. Following that, we had Beyond Light. That's when we got Europa. So Bungie, as a multifaceted thing, needed to remove content from the game because one, it's easier to manage a live game where everything that's irrelevant isn't also in the game causing issues. Could you imagine we're having issues right now with the Brave stuff and all the shit with Shaxx? And a bug is being caused by a location that no one uses? Because we just talked before about how patrol zones are corny and how no one uses them and there's no incentive and there's no reason. So if we have dead content, truly dead content, it's okay to remove it. If you want to recode the content, find a purpose for it and reintroduce it and make it free, totally cool. Now, as far as sunsetting weapons is concerned, at some point you have to deal with power creep. And I know people have loss aversion, it's like a human thing, but I'm gonna make a hot take. Destiny players, y'all cry too damn much. Y'all cry too much. You have a game that is made easy for you every week. Every day, Bungie finds a way to make it easy. No matter how easy they make it, you complain. When they make things overpowered, you get bored. When they make a challenge, you complain. You don't know what the fuck you want. I'm sorry, Destiny community. I love you. You're dear to my heart, but you're the most confusing set of people to please in the world.
I'm going to take that.
I will agree with that. I will 100% agree with that.
That was juicy.
If you criticize Bungie, you're called a hater. If you praise Bungie, get the dick out of your mouth. What are you talking about? I can't say anything without being wrong.
I love that you said that because we like True Vanguard kind of touched on this, but the tribalism inside of Destiny 2 is a core pillar of the problem. It's you're either on my side or you're my enemy. You want skill-based matchmaking, or you're connection-based. You're one or the other, and we will never meet in the middle. You either want FOMO or you want crafting. You're either one or the other. There is no middle ground anymore. I will admit 100%.
There's a weird instance in the Facebook group that I moderate, right? A lot of times people will be like, this weapon is shit, this mode is bad, this is yada, yada, yada. You know what I get yelled at the most for? Asking people instead to speak for themselves. I don't like this because. I like this because. When I play this content, I feel XYZ is the best way to give feedback. Every dev studio on the planet has already said this. And then if you tell someone, hey, that's probably not the best way to give feedback. Oh, where goes the boot liquor? It's like, no, I want your feedback to be taken seriously and not immediately ignored.
So I know that a lot of people freaking view DMG04 as like one of the best freaking CMs that we had.
Red.
Dirty F and Hippie has been posting some YouTube videos since she was let go, and one of them was how to give feedback. And then shortly thereafter, DMG04 added on, quote tweeted, and did his own thread. Both very, very good. And right on the fucking point. You wouldn't believe how many freaking shit stains were in both freaking comment sections, literally telling them, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. These are fucking community managers, you dumb sons of bitches.
I'm going to be honest. And I'm going to give you a little pushback. I'm going to give you a little bit of pushback. I'm going to give you a little pushback here. While I agree with that statement 100%, that is a 100% factually true statement. That I 100% agree. But on the other side of the coin, what gets shit done is anger. Like, look, if I gotta take a note out of my boy Orlando Jones's performance in American Gods, angry gets shit done. And 100%, we could talk about how being nice and talking to Bungie and like openly being like productive seems to be like the appropriate manner to get things done. But one thing that gets the ball moving is when the community's out for blood. That is what players.
It's sad, but it's
everyone.
Okay, hold on.
100%.
I think that is short-sightedly true.
And no. Yes, if all the community is in unison, voicing constructively for or against something, I agree. Okay. But if it is an extreme hanger to the point where we're back to bullshit that happened, Luke, Giannis, DMG, I'm sorry.
Now we're at Josh.
Exit stage right. Don't let the door hit you with a good Lord split you. And go take a long walk off a short pier and start confessing fucking waters.
Like I've said many times. Go ahead.
Go ahead, be my fault.
Like I've said many times, two things can be true at the same time. I can 100% agree that what Cajun just said is 100% true. But at the same time, like the lived reality of players and what players are seeing, and this is just, I'm a big proponent of monkey see, monkey do. If it's a proven fact or a proven optical thing that the community got mad and they start calling for blood, and that is what got the devs' attention, and that is what got the reaction that we wanted. Other players don't understand all the other logistical stuff that went on in the background. All they see is when pitchforks go up and guillotines start going and people's heads start rolling, I get what I want. And that's all they take away from the situation. If I call for blood, I get what I want.
I think you nailed it, because there's a detail that you added that's important, was outside of player perception. Because a lot of people don't understand that changes in game development take months. Like even the Mass Effect bundle that we got, people are like, oh, Bungie just trying to make us happy. They talked about that stuff with BioWare last year. We've been talking, and Hippie's in the Facebook group that I talk about. She talks sometimes in posts. And she was like, no, we wanted Mass Effect in the game. We talked about it like a year ago, and we worked it out, and it just so happened that it was scheduled for this time. So I think people forget that, yeah, you can get outraged and get mad, and like that'll make change. You're 100% right. I'll never argue that. But I don't think our community is patient enough to try the other way and see if we get better results. Instead of bullying and rushing a dev team to make quick changes that we want right now in the immediate, maybe sometimes it's okay to see a change in a decision play out over a period of time and then say something. And then get mad. You can say something the whole way and give feedback the whole way. Let it rock 100%. For a while. Let it ruminate.
And what's funny is
come in and make it better and then get mad. But we get 0 to 100 every time, and it's exhausting.
100%.
And what's wild is friend of the show, Wormkeeper, he put out a video earlier today where he made a perfect statement that kind of encapsulates the issue that Diva's kind of touching on. Is a scared Bungie is a productive Bungie. And it's sad, but
I'm gonna say this. Let's change the term scared and change it to on their heels.
Right. But what I was going to say in regards to it is like when Bungie is under fire, there's productivity, but beyond what we've seen previously. When shit hit the fan to where like even Grenadier Jake himself is saying, I might not be fucking with Destiny PvP much longer. That was when you saw the fire team form. When the issues were that bad. When you see Final Shape having such backlash because of the delay in the firings and everything, you saw stuff about Into the Light coming out. You saw more previews than ever before in the past few months.
Into the Light would have taken months to plan. I'm sorry, I'm listening to you, but come on.
To a certain degree, yes. But the way certain parts of it feel kind of stitched together, especially the way they're like, hey, Into the Light is getting sunsetted in a way, come Final Shape in a short amount of time, it feels kind of weird. But the way the reaction, I'll rephrase it to reactionary Bungie is a productive Bungie in a way.
I like that.
Because it shouldn't always have to be reactionary Bungie. It should be we're always listening, and that's where the best results are. And you see, Bungie is sat down with the PvP strike team. They're saying, hey, this is the data we found from listening to y'all. This is the data that we gathered. This is what we're seeing, that casual players aren't having fun, that these weapons are only meta in this section of the game. Mercules even said on the Firing Line podcast that y'all may think that SMGs are really busted on the high end of the spectrum. But you go down to the lower end of the spectrum, and motherfuckers don't use SMGs. They're using auto rifles. They don't care about SMGs. They don't like the way SMGs shoot. So it's very interesting how like Bungie was able to flat out say, "Hey, we're listening now, and people are happy." And I think if we're in a system where Bungie is listening, you'll see more productivity. But I will agree to a certain extent that under fire Bungie and reactionary Bungie are coexisting, where they got under fire real bad. And they had to cook. They had to go in the kitchen and start acting like they was Sanji from One Piece and start cooking dishes.
Let's also be honest. They came under fire from two different sources.
True.
Whereas before it was only from one source, and that was always the community. Now they came under fire from not only the community but also from Sony. Sony has called them out, and now Pete Parsons and company have to make better decisions. And they have to start making sure that, one, the community's being heard. Two, they're listening to the developers. Because a lot of the developers...
There are members of the Sony team that are on the board at Bungie, though. So there's a little bit of, like, motherfuckers aren't telling the truth here.
This is what they want. So why ain't you giving them what they're asking for?
Exactly.
But I'm going to be honest with you.
All right.
Because I always gotta say, look, I'll call a spade, and I'll give my opinion as unbiasedly as I can. And just as much as I say, Bungie's got a couple, bad cards that they play quite often, the community, like we just established, can be a bunch of crybabies sometimes. And honestly, I'll be honest with you, they don't make developing for this community very easy, because I'm going to be honest and I'll say it. Like, look, hot take, the community don't know what they want. They ask for things that make absolutely no fucking sense.
Because I think it was Darren that said it earlier. Some people don't have their own opinions. They say what they hear their favorite content creator wants.
Echo chamber.
And that's a problem. Chambers, and that's a problem. It's like when I engage with people, I always ask them, "Hey, why don't you like this?" Or, "Hey, why? Okay, so you're against my opinion. Explain it."
And you defend yourself. But
here's the thing we're also missing. All this communication from Bungie, all this stuff. The most casual players don't look at that shit. They don't read the TWID. They don't watch the trailers. They don't watch the live streams. We are an echo chamber talking to ourselves, and the people that are actually getting mad have no idea what they're even talking about.
I won't say that. That's not exactly fair. That's not fair.
That's a hot take.
Because the casual players...
I agree with Darren. I agree with Darren. As a content creator, I see that a lot. I see that so much.
The most casual. Sorry.
Hear me out.
No, because he's right. Because how many times have we talked about the motherfuckers?
We talk a lot about the casual players being like uninformed and generally not knowing or having perspective enough to step in the room and have a conversation, right? A lot of higher end veteran players tend to have that perspective, right? But we can also admit that they're coming in and they're learning, and their experience and from their perspective with what they have. I'm going to be honest with you. I will never expect a new player to come in and invest as much time as required to learn and be on par with Destiny as veteran and like hardcore players invest. I do not expect them to be reading and going to other websites to figure out, what I need to know. I'm not expecting them to go in the Discord groups and start asking players, "Hey, do I need this information? Like, do I need to use this gun, that gun, this gun?" If you cannot disseminate the important information in the game, why should the player invest time outside of playing?
So I'm going to answer that real easy for you, Dave. I'm going to answer that real easy for you.
That's the point I was trying to make.
I'm going to answer that for you. It's the same thing that I said in the intro.
Okay.
If motherfuckers right now with trials, they are trying to come into trials, the highest echelon of PvP, with the randomest shit on.
Yeah.
And they don't know what's going on. They don't know how to play the game. They don't know what they're doing. They're not even coming dressed for the funeral.
What are you expecting from them?
To do 5 seconds of research. Like
5 seconds of research.
Because here's the thing that you're not including into the independent variable.
Okay.
Excuse me. We live in the generation where the internet is legally available to everyone. Like the government has said that like the ISPs have to like allow the internet to be accessible to every individual. Yes. Destiny is a game that is perpetually online. So at bare minimum, you have an ISP in your house, which means you are able to access the internet. Which means you have a way to go to Google to ask a question. You're probably on TikTok. You're probably on Facebook, etc. You know how many motherfuckers are in Duran's Facebook group? Because like him and Zay Osiris do that shit all the time. Like there's tons of people there asking questions, doing this. Like they're like at bare minimum, you should be able to type into Google, what does this exotic do? And pull up a YouTube video and figure out, oh, Mask of the Quiet One's dog water. I'm not gonna wear it. Or Stompies are really good, despite what Diva wants to say. But like, hunters are gonna flock to Stompies because they're the main thing that hunters use. So
because Bungie won't let us have nothing.
You are required to especially. I'll make a controversial hot take statement. At bare minimum in today's modern gaming spectrum, you are required to at least do 10 to 20% of research. If you don't, you are failing yourself. And that is true. I don't care if it's Diablo. I don't care if it's Destiny.
That is a failure of development.
No,
I disagree.
I have two things. We're talking about an age of content creation, how it changed the gaming landscape, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we have content creators on every platform covering every topic on every game,
like we're on 2 platforms right now.
It is self-entitled and arrogant to assume that the game developer has to not only provide all of the context and all the tools and all the information for the game, and then you're still going to go online and follow a content creator that tells you a bunch of different shit anyway. They make the games bare bones enough so that content creators will supplement the community so they are one sandwich. But the only thing that we're missing, the thing that we're not talking about, is that I wasn't trashing the casual player. I was saying most extreme casual players have no idea what's going on. They're just as vocal. But the thing is, Bungie's communication and their efforts and all this stuff, we're like, oh yeah, this is great. It's not reaching those people is my point.
Yeah.
Bungie's
like we've said before that the Twitch should be in game and somewhere like the way they do the pop-up on Saturday, that should be a scrollable thing.
Even if it's not people click past it, people are just entitled and lazy. And I know people don't like to hear that, and it sounds like an attack, but it's not an attack. If you turn on a game and there's a giant splash that is giving you updates on your game and you click past it, and then you spend the rest of the week asking questions, you're an asshole. Unintentionally.
I love that.
Unintentionally, I defend your right to be
Bravo.
one. Because I like to teach and I like to help and I like to coach. But you can't tell me a grown-ass adult that is charged with driving a car, raising a life, working a job, having security inputs, having a bank account, all this stuff. You're trying to tell me you can't figure out which activity to fucking get a powerful job from?
Herein lies the issue. Is you're not talking about them understanding the bare minimum of how to play the game. Like, sure, there should be a general understanding of how to play the game. You're picking up a game, you should know how to aim, how to shoot, jump, do the basic tools and mechanics that lie in the game. But as a developer, if you cannot provide enough information for players to understand the basic tools and understanding rules and guideposts to walk them through. Dark Souls drops you in the world, and they at the very least leave little messages saying, "Hey, this is how you roll. This is
Bungie has that too.
This is direction."
Yeah, Bungie has basic. They modeled after Dark Souls. Bungie has basic things.
Has created a space where, in order for you to actually understand and keep up with things, and actually be an informed player, it means nothing for you to play the game. Everything that players understand in this game, they have no mastery of things. Like Cajun not to like jump on you or anything.
He's
but
like, what the fuck
when we did,
he raised that
hold
eyebrow.
up, calm down. Let me cook. Like he didn't know that Thrall melees count as arc damage. Once upon a time.
You son of a bitch.
Hear me out though. Like you're a veteran player.
Right. You're right.
That should be something that you should have known for a while.
For the longest time, I didn't even think to look up there.
Never even looked
to see that it was melee. To see that it was arc.
But that's a failure on occasion. That's a failure on occasion.
No. That's not a failure on occasion. That's not a failure. He is a veteran player, and I'm sure he looked up a lot of stuff. That is information that should just be in the game. That people should be able to. People shouldn't be unaware of that.
Like,
no, but it is in the game. The claws glow blue, taken Thrall glow red because it's solar damage, and it tells you on the screen.
That's right, it does. They do. You're right.
Here's the thing. So I went back and looked. The vast majority of time when you're actually seeing Thrall, who's actually looking at the finer details on the freaking models and not focus more on their freaking head for a headshot?
Okay,
that's valid. That's valid.
First Thrall,
you die. So you're not sitting there looking at what
as
killed
they're
you.
walking. Their hands aren't glowing. They glow when they go to attack.
Yeah, that's true.
But here's my thing. Take it, Cursed Thrall. They explode, right? That's arc damage. That's a design philosophy.
It's blue for a reason. You're right.
Wizards create the Thrall, right?
Yeah.
So wizards like cultivate and they lead the battlefield. They also shoot arc damage. They're trying to show you that there's arc damage from the hive. Hive swords, arc damage. It's all arc damage. The only thing that's void is Ogre, and that's a mutated Thrall.
And Shriekers.
So and Shriekers, right. True, I forgot about the turrets. So, like, there's a lot...
He just blew my mind because I didn't know that.
I'm not saying that Bungie can't do a better job of maybe...
Matt...
increasing the fidelity of the
I'm saying that they did the bare minimum. You know, the motherfuckers need to figure out how to do a little bit of research.
My only argument.
How about this?
I ended up doing that research, and believe it or not, there's someone who put together a spreadsheet of all the damage types from all the various enemies, and I was like,
making information more accessible and helping players to understand things as they grow as players is the paramount of what I'm concerned with.
But
I am of the belief. Hold on, let me cook.
I'm going to answer that question for you. I'm going to answer that for you.
You know what I'm going to say right now? I don't like the term accessible because I think that's a lazy cop-out term.
I'm going to answer your question, Steve. I'm going to answer your question. But I'm going to answer your question, then we got to start wrapping up. But Bungie has done a great thing. You know what they did? They made their API accessible to everybody. Literally, look what happened. Somebody was mad that Bungie fucked up and and banned them. The dude who had D2 made D2 Gunsmith was mad that they accidentally banned him. What happened within 36 hours? An amazing woman said, you know what? I'm going to make a whole website called D2 Foundry, which is an amazing replacement for D2 Gunsmith. And now every content creator uses D2 Foundry. D2 Foundry is used by everybody, and it is accessible to everybody. Blueberries.gg, Shaxx News, LightGG, D2 Armor, all these places.
Destiny
all these places. Like all these places are available to the players
that aren't in the game.
Because Bungie can't
fundamental tools. Hear me out. Fundamental tools that are phenomenal. I agree. Phenomenal. I love that Bungie has created avenues for the community to support each other. Right? But tooltips would be nice. I'm not like this is just me spitting some quality of life bullshit. I ain't gonna hold you. I'm not mad that this stuff ain't in the game. I'm just saying players who play this game rely so heavily on the information that they get told that they have no true mastery of the game. They don't understand why things work. They just understand that things work. And when
that is true.
Given information contrary to what they've been told, like a game of telephone, they're like, no, you're wrong because X person told me this is what I need to run. But when I am saying, hey, look, these players have no mastery of the game because they don't understand what it is that they're being asked to do and what it is that they're doing. They're just doing what someone else told them to do. I'm considered the bad guy. No, not you guys, but just say it.
Well,
like
it
becomes a conflict of understanding. Like, hold up.
So,
like, let's cook with
I
this.
do think that Bungie can do some things to make things more clear, but I don't subscribe at all to the idea that every person that touches this game has to be like handheld like an invalid. I'm sorry. You're playing a space game. You're meant to be a legend. You're meant to learn the game. There are tons of things in this game that teach you the game. How do I know? Because I used to write guides. I used to spend hours digging through menus. I have done every public event solo to heroic because I had to write them for an article. I've done it with substandard builds. I've done it with no light. I've done it with no subclass like fragments installed. I've done it on hard mode in ways for myself just to see what other people might deal with. When I see a dog shit loadout in Crucible or dog shit loadout in PvE, I put it on sometimes. And I'm just like, oh, this is awful. What is this person doing? But like to say that there aren't tooltips and to say there aren't modes or things that teach, just a whole new light campaign that people joke about that actually teaches you a lot.
It really does.
People didn't like was that they were given the crawl, walk, run, and they just wanted to run and have a mastery and understanding. People 100%. Think they need to be successful to learn, and that's not the thing. It's a whole resources thing. It teaches you the different elements. It teaches you the different currencies in the game because it's a free game.
I say what you will about Shahan, but motherfucker taught you some real life shit.
He did.
If you really stop and look at it, I think that there needs to be a...
I am going to say this. In regards to tooltips, I will agree with David to a certain point. One of the big things that I really wish that Bungie would do is put more definitive data in the tooltips.
Like
so
what?
Like for instance, when we're talking about like perks, when we're talking about fragments, and they say increase or provide grenade energy. Well, how much grenade energy is that?
Answer that.
You know, you've got to go to either like sites like DIM or D2 Foundry or freaking Light GG to get exact data points. You know, that's where
the bar shows you how much it does.
To throw a grenade, right? Take a weapon with demolitionist, kill a red bar.
Right, but but at that point,
you're looking for a hard number on the screen, is what you're looking for.
But the hard number on the screen, if they give that to you, then they can't be flexible, and people are going to memorize a number. If they just say it gives you grenade energy, and they keep the numbers for the people that are like hard enthusiasts and want to learn that stuff, you can seek that on your own. But to understand the game, you don't need the math. If you tell someone that killing an enemy with that weapon will give them more grenade energy,
I'm gonna say I agree to disagree on this as someone who has played MMOs for a long time.
That was
especially World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy 14. When you provide those type of numbers, that data point, even some of the most casual players can take that information and be able to do content without having to look up a YouTube guide.
And to an extent, I will agree with Cajun, only in the way of Bungie has admitted occasionally that sometimes the stat isn't able to be revealed. Like, look what happened with AE for like 6 months, where they were like, hey, we're not able to put AE on the screen, but just know AE is a thing. Hell, they still haven't told us what all the number and qualifications are for AE, for in-air accuracy yet. But like, it's still a bar on the screen that can be measured somehow. But like, people do enjoy concrete numbers. So while I agree with Duran to a certain extent that like, hey, there is the ability to like go seek that information, similar to how I say, hey, you need like 10 to 20% of your own research to play any video game at this point, which is fair. But like, there's like, people do enjoy concrete numbers, but at the same time, at least Bungie has made that concrete knowledge available to. It's like a Grimoire card to a certain extent, where like, hey, it's available. You just gotta Google it. Like, you may not like it.
Yeah, that's the thing. You gotta go to like so many different sites to obtain this information, and it's like
it can be overwhelming. Like, I started playing Warframe here a while back, and I looked at all that information, and I'm like, this is so much to learn. Granted, it's Warframe, and I have the capacity to learn it. It's just, I would rather learn through organically learning and working with the tools and working my way up. And sure, that means I'm going to suck for a little while. But when I get where I'm going, sure, most people want answers right now. I need the answer. I like to find my own
answers. They don't even bother with like all the numbers and stuff. They just want here.
But herein lies the thing that like the core, like I'll say the core like reasoning that I have for my logic here is when I look at something and it just says, hey, Mask of the Quiet One. I think it says you get melee damage based on you taking damage. That sounds really good, but
it's not.
It's absolute dog shit.
It's dog.
But to me, reading that, I get hits. I get it all the time. I get melee damage for getting hit. Okay, that sounds really good. But when I start putting numbers to that, now I have a more complete understanding of why I should not be running this. But to a new player, when you give them things, you're like, hey, this looks really cool. Frosties looks really cool. I just gotta run. I run everywhere anyway. That sounds really good. But then I'm like, you get fucking 1% every fucking 5 seconds you're sprinting. Now it don't sound so good. And these players are playing
much better. In practice,
Frosties actually is one of the high, like top 20, right. I believe, 100 exotics used in the game. But
you see where my logic lies, though, right?
No, like, your logic is sound, and so is Cajun's. Your points are salient. Like I'm with it, but I think that realistically, a lot of people do things based on feel. Most people do things based on feel. So if Bungie knows that as long as they tell you what the thing does, even granted some of those are fucking wrong, they tell you what the thing does, you can at least know that you get this result from this action. If I get a precision kill, I make a big boom. Cool. Now, do most people care how much damage happens to the ads on the side? No, they will look for themselves. They'll see that not everything died, and they'll be like, I kind of expected more from that explosion. Right? And they'll start experimenting with different perks, or different traits, or different combos, just because they want to see either a bigger explosion, or in the case where they do have numbers, they want to see a bigger number, more bigger, right? I just don't
like there's motherfuckers like Aegis who if you look on Aegis's YouTube channel, that dude right there has so much data in an Excel spreadsheet, and that dude breathes this game. Like, if you look at his numbers for what stats go with what thing and what perks go with what thing to make sure you have the top DPS in an engagement, you would go nuts. I sat there for like I think it was like 3 days ago looking over that shit because I was like, hey, how much of a difference between Cataphract and Edge Transit is there? Man, like, did you know mini frags are better than spike grenades? Because I didn't.
Let's do like a happy medium. How about a happy medium, right?
Yeah.
So we have the collections tab, we have the resources tab, we have all this other different stuff. How about somewhere in there's a little sheet, and it gives you like tiers of damage buffs, right? Doesn't need to be the stacking thing that we see in the compendium and all that stuff, but just for the sake of numbers, right? Since Cajun wants them, Diva and Selector think they're cool. I'm the only one here that really doesn't think they're really important for most people.
Oh no, I agree with you. I'm on your side here. I genuinely feel like it kind of goes back to how I feel about Pokemon X and Y, where that was the echelon of like we hand holding motherfuckers too much when all they need to know is how to throw a Pokeball. Like, it's that kind of thing where like we've entered a thing where too many people are entitled and think they can't pick up a phone. Like right now, I could sit here with my phone and almost drop my water bottle and like look up like a bunch of shit in 5 minutes. I can look up blueberries.gg right now and figure out what's going to be the rotating Nightfall next week. But motherfuckers don't want to do that shit. They'll hop in someone's stream and be like, hey, what's the weapon this week in Trials? Hey, how about you just go look on Twitter and look at what Trials report says and see for yourself. Or better yet, why don't you walk your happy ass down to Saint?
Over the Shacks, there's salad, Saint. Why am I saying all the time?
And the thing about it is, I'll always answer if someone comes in my stream because I'm a nice person. But one person might just ignore your ass and be like, "Hey, yo, why don't you go look for yourself, dummy?" Like some people are like that. And the thing about it is,
I think the entitlement stuff aside is fair and valid. But I think if they just say they standardize damage increases, right? Say like a tier 1 was like a 15%, like a frenzy. A tier 2 was like a 25%. A tier 3 is like your 35 plus. So like your bait and switches, all that kind of shit. And I think if they put just something in the game, like a little tab that shows what the damage increases are, right? They can still be vague, and then they can just put next to the tier 1 damage increase, tier 2 damage increase. Oh, I can just go to collections and look that up. But I don't think that they are required to learn the game. If you want to excel and feel
I will agree
like
with
there's more feedback, I can vibe with you all day and I'll agree with you. But I think solely on the aspect of learning the game, I don't think any of those numbers are important in any way, shape, or form. Learn the game. They have deeper mastery of it to get into the end game, sure. But to just learn the base game,
All right. We're gonna have to start wrapping up here real quick. We will revisit this a different day. But I think this is one of my favorite episodes we've had in a minute. But like in general,
fun.
Duran, you
I had so much fun.
This was amazing. Thank you for being here. You are always welcome back, fam. Like, definitely, we need to have you back more often. Like, you were fucking phenomenal. I didn't do this at the beginning of the show, but like, what is your ghost story? Like, what made you want to pick up Destiny for the first time beyond just work, obviously?
Okay, so a long time ago, I was living with my friends in an apartment. Like, I come downstairs and they were talking about this new game from Bungie. It was shortly after it was announced, like when the pre-alpha stuff was all being talked about. That one reveal that they showed where they had like the Warlock throwing a Nova Bomb and a solar grenade all at once, prismatic, back in the day. And I heard the words self-res, and I was like, maybe. And then I heard the word Warlock. I was like, well, I like wizards and magic and all that shit. That sounds great. And then I just looked at some of the gameplay and immediately bought it. Bought a PS5 right away. I mean PS4 right away. Played the game. And ever since then I've just been in love with the game. I think knowing that Bungie put out a shooter and that they had like the gun mechanics that no other developer I've ever played a game from is been able to like match. I played Oni as a kid. Shout out to anyone that played Oni back in the day. And I saw Hunter movement, and I was like, wait, that's Oni's movement from the game. The weapon system from Oni is the weapon system in Destiny. So I've been playing like Bungie games like my whole life, and I just felt like Destiny was like the game. And I've put like an embarrassing amount of hours into this game since then.
Don't feel bad. I'm right there.
I'm in my Renaissance era now. So all I care about is helping new lights, helping players. Like if you look at my stats on Raid Report and Crucible, they're not good. But the only reason they're not good is because one, I like to use bad weapons, bad metas. Shout outs to like using lightweight.
Thank you.
I love using bad weapons all day. My favorite things to do. Just give me Fighting Lion.
I had somebody giving me shit because I was using Levy's Breath against freaking the last boss of Warlord.
Breath isn't even bad. It's one of the best DPS weapons in the game.
Levy's Breath is one of the best weapons in the game.
Dude, they were like,
they weren't told that.
Use Cataphrag, use in transit. Shut the fuck up.
I mean, that's transit is a bad bitch. I can't lie about that.
Oh yeah,
I like to help people that are anxious about endgame, anxious about PvP, and I'll lose with you 50 rounds in a row. But I'm guiding and I'm coaching and I'm teaching and I'm trying to just help you realize that it's not that serious. That you're kind of like getting in your own way. I do silly shit so they can see that it's clearly like a good player doing something silly and dying and not caring. That they should probably take some pressure off themselves. So like I'm in like this Renaissance tour right now, my Bungie addiction. But I do think if people like us, like the four of us, with different offshoots of these ideas, get heard and people have better conversations where they don't feel like they're being attacked. Like I was actually hoping Cajun or Diva would have shit on something I said, but that didn't happen yet. So I'm waiting maybe the next time I come back.
All right, I got one for you. Look, that motherfucker.
But I
agree.
All right.
But I think being able to have those conversations where even if people like don't agree, like Cajun and I don't agree 100% on like the numbers, right? But I could see the value and why he wants it. I could see the I played WoW. in high school, dude. I was running through fucking oh god, I can't remember the name of the Night Elf starting city.
This dude's talking about freaking high school playing World of Warcraft.
I'm 36, man. I can't remember what I did.
I was in the military.
Oh my dear.
All right. Well, like what we always ask the guests to go first. What is your closing statement that you want to leave people with before we end the show?
We have a brilliant game here in Destiny, guys. Try to be good to each other. We're out there to shoot aliens. Have a little bit of fun, a little bit of lore. Don't take it too seriously, and just like be cool to each other.
Respect. Hell yeah. All right, Diva. Keep it short, but keep it solid. What you got for the folks?
I'm going to keep it brief, but I'm going to keep it solid. For the people, I leave you with one assignment this week. Have fun. Remember to have fun. Even if that means you build a S tier, find what you like and to have fun. Treat Destiny like it's a game of Helldivers. If you fuck up, you fuck up. If you don't win, you don't win. Who cares? Just have fun. Find what makes your experience the best and then use that shit and have a good time. Don't worry about if it's meta or not. The meta is ruining the game. People trying to tell you what you need to be using. Find what works for you and then make that the best you can make it. That's what I got to say.
Fair enough. Cajun.
Thanks, brother. Oh my god.
What you got for the people? I know you got some wisdom as your old ass says.
So for a lot of the people that come and watch content creators as someone who is a streamer, My biggest piece of advice to any either new light, returning player, or veteran of the Destiny 2 community, when you come into a streamer's chat and you see them doing an activity, do yourself a favor. Do not tell them to use whatever insert blank meta is currently going on. If you're curious as to why they're running with whatever loadout, ask them. Ask them, can you explain to me why you're using this? I'm generally curious. You're going to get a much better reception from them versus coming in screaming, use Edge Transit, use bait and switch rocket.
I can feel the sodium in your veins from here because you salty.
I will tell you, shut the fuck up, and I will ignore you.
Solid.
Because you're not adding to the conversation. Because as we mentioned a second ago, there are so many weapons in this game, and so many of them are really good. There's no reason to ignore the other ones just because one weapon is the new hotness.
All right,
time and a place, people.
All right, I'm gonna be real controversial for my closing statement.
My
Here we
God.
go. He was gonna talk that shit before he leaves. Let's go.
Oh yeah, you know.
And I can't defend myself. Come on, stop it on me.
No. I ain't coming for Diva. I'm coming for the D2 community on this one. Ladies and gentlemen of the tower, I have a hot take that's gonna upset the populace. Your favorite sunsetted weapon means nothing. It's been power crept to death by everything in the game. There are outliers like, somehow quick draw and aggressive frame exists without mindbenders, or kill clip and rampage are both on Kindled Orchid. But here's a hot take for you that no one seems to fucking recognize. Rampage ain't been shit since before Beyond Light. Like, they nerfed Rampage into the ground and left it there. They didn't dig that motherfucker back up. So for you to think that, your favorite weapon that has Rampage on it, or I got Rampage on Hammerhead, I'm goated, bitch. Shut up. It ain't hot. That thing is in the freezer. That thing ain't doing nothing for you. Get out of here. Like legitimately, it's cool. If you really want to fuck around with your old stuff, cool. Best believe I'm gonna run around with my old Hammerhead and my new Hammerhead and have some fun. I only kept my blast furnace on my Hammerhead because I'm a weirdo. But like in general, leave Datto alone. He thought Bungie would never do some shit. And also, your old shit ain't gonna be as good as your new shit. Like, because I'll tell you just as, when Perfect Paradox comes out, that's gonna have a new fancy Saint 14 themed origin trait. And it's gonna be a lot better than the old one. So, best believe, everyone who's like, oh my God, I have not forgotten back. Watch what happens when Bungie issues a not forgotten with some fancy new origin trait. And then you're all gonna want that shit. So, I'm just saying.
Yeah, a heartbeat.
Right, like everyone who's flipping out about all their old crap, like coming back. Like, watch what happens when Bygones comes back, and it has some crazy ass perk on it. Like, I'm just saying, people need to start understanding. Like, this cool. You can play with your old toy for 5 minutes, but the new toy is gonna be just as better. It's just like Will Smith said, old and busted, new hotness. And that's where I'm gonna leave y'all. Old and busted,
say that.
New hotness.
I'm gonna say that, but about your favorite content. And I'm gonna be done. Ooh, that's hot. All right, guys, it's been nice. We're gonna see you guys.
Wait. What favorite content?
After that.
Yo, my man went for the kill shot down the dip. That's crazy.
All right, y'all. We will catch y'all star side. Peace.
Peace.
Later.